it's one of those rare things. Martin can speak to it because he played for his country. And to walk away because something doesn't suit you because you've had the confrontation or an altercation. I mean, obviously, we don't know the length and breadth of it, but at the time, I think my attitude towards it was, well, I think that should be you done.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range. Commercial vehicles that go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. The Spurs hierarchy is still yet to decide how best to steer the club away from relegation. The situation is a long way from Harry Redknapp's expectation of a 5th or 6th place finish.
But it's been another year of disaster. And people keep saying, well, I know they've got the injuries, but that squad on Sunday was good enough to have got a result.
Tottenham are keen to give Igor Tudor time and space following the death of his father. Should they make a change, ex-Monaco head coach Adi Hütter is among the options. So too Chris Hughton and Robbie Keane, although Keane would demand a longer-term deal. Redknapp says there's only so much a new manager can do.
Whoever they bring in at the end of the day, it's down to the players. They've got to stand up and start performing.
As for Roberto De Zerbi, he's waiting to see if Spurs stay up. There's plenty more on that front at talksport.com. Next, a man who wasn't afforded one chance to represent England has told TalkSport Ben White does deserve a second. Kevin Nolan says the Arsenal defender's versatility makes him a good option.
What he's got to do now is go and show Thomas that he can be part of a squad and a team for the World Cup.
Both of England's friendlies against Uruguay and Japan are live on talkSPORT. Meanwhile, the aggro up in the northeast goes on.
Now, Anthony Gordon is a fantastic player, but he didn't turn up in the first game and he didn't pretty much turn up in the second game apart from the goals. So it's a big statement.
Sunderland legend Kevin Phillips there after Newcastle's Anthony Gordon's comments about Sunderland being not very good. And former England coach Paul Farbrace reckons sticking with Brendan McCullum is the correct call.
I actually admire Rob Key and the ECB for standing up and actually standing their ground. They genuinely believe they've got the right people.
The ECB are trying to tighten up what they felt was a loose culture around the England Test team following that disastrous Ashes. There's plenty more on the TalkSport Cricket Collective podcast.
TalkSport News.
The Chancellor is outlining how the government could help families if energy bills spiral in the coming months, and a man who strangled and buried a woman in a shallow grave is cleared of her murder. There's more from the news team at past.
TalkSport weather with QuickFit. The season's changing, so get your car's shim pads and studs checked for spring with a free vehicle safety check. Book in centre or at quickfit.com today.
A band of rain moving southeastwards this afternoon, colder conditions coming in behind.
This is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs with you through until 4 here on talkSPORT, where this afternoon I was obviously delighted to hear that the Spurs skipper Christian Romero has said he'll be putting in a huge 200% effort until the end of the season. I'm guessing that 100% of that is to make up the shortfall for the 0% effort he put in for Forest's second goal.
Oh,
It can only be a bonus, though.
No, I agree. I thought you might pick up on that quote.
Yeah.
Coming up over the next 3 hours, we'll get the latest on that rumoured change in the Spurs dugout. Steve Harmison on Ben Stokes' statement, quite strong stuff, and whether Newcastle are really much better than Sunderland. Look that way. And we'll explore the bizarre accusation aimed at Bromby manager Steve Cooper ahead of Wales' playoff.
We'll also have more of Andy's nonsense by numbers and the World Stone Skimming Championships official tossmaster. I'm told by the producer that's what he calls himself.
It's great.
On his bid to stop the cheats.
There's all this plus reaction from France to Zidane's new job, PSG's fixture appeal, and Michael Olise's hat.
We're going to go big on Michael Olise's
I think
hat.
we should.
The other stuff's just fluff, really. Zidane getting the France job.
And we're joined by a maker of a really interesting new documentary on the great Johan Cruyff.
Yeah, 10 years, the 10th anniversary today of Johan Cruyff's passing, and we'll be chatting to the director of this new series. But it is 6 minutes past 1. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Andy.
Good afternoon, Paul. And that report in The Sun on this morning on the BBC dropping an episode of the repair shop after a complaint about a joke in Bob Monkhouse's old book.
Yeah.
Old joke book was being repaired. It's not necessarily true. I heard two different stories.
Did you? Okay, did you really? Yeah.
That's an amazing
Alan's hoping to get him in as a guest to talk about it, Bob, I think, on breakfast tomorrow. So do stay tuned in on that.
You
What, Mr. Brazil? I think they played it again on breakfast today. Any opportunity, really. Jamie Carragher would have liked it. That's
why
his
not?
favourite clip.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
And there were the usual nonsense about England's World Cup kits being 135 quid. Well,
Yeah.
of course, they always pick the most.
And then there's the one that you sprinkle gold leaf on that's $6,000. That's the other one.
The thing is, it's not compulsory. I never get this story. If you can't afford it, you don't want to afford it. Don't buy it. That's the end of it. And you can get yourself a white T-shirt and just put a red cross of St George on it. That'll do, won't it?
Is that your kind of Blue Peter tip, is it?
Well, that's all.
Not quite the same when you're a kid in the playground, and some of the boys have got the new shirt and you're standing there with a red cross painted on your white T-shirt.
That's true. But then the kids' ones are cheaper. But then, and let's face it, a football shirt...
Not much cheaper.
No, but it's a very useful garment, the football shirt.
Is that what you think?
Well, it is. You can wash it like 1,000 times and it still looks exactly the same. Quite terrible.
Yeah.
That's not the point.
You reached the point, didn't you? You reached the stage where you felt... Is there a cut-off? They say there's a cut-off for men of a certain age for
mine was
jeans.
about 65.
So at 65 you decided you couldn't wear the shirt anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, why is that? I mean...
I don't know, I just felt... I looked a bit...
What was the catalyst for it? Did someone say, "Oi, Grandad"?
No.
My stomach.
Yeah, I always get
Is that what it was?
I always get, "Oi, Grandad," even from my own grandson.
Yeah. Well, that works then, doesn't it, really? Yeah. Oi, Grandad.
Stop complaining.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was you had a bit of a derby on, didn't you? You saw yourself in...
Yeah.
I mean, they're not that fitted. They're not. I mean, it's not like it's a Kappa shirt. They were like a Savaloy skin.
I don't know. I didn't look that good in it anymore. I think my heart went out of it a bit, when they started the new ownership and the whole thing. I don't feel the same about it.
You want to tell us about what was the reason that you ditched wearing the club shirt? Maybe, I mean, them being terrible, but maybe what was it? What was the reason for it? And the other thing I thought we might ask the listeners today, I had a great bit of mishearing yesterday, with the producer. We're leaving the studio. He was going to get his bus back. I'm heading down to the train. And I said, I'll see you tomorrow. And I can't remember what I asked him, but I'm certain he said to me, I've got to get off to choir practice. I thought, well, that's something I never knew about our producer. I think he had a nice voice. He's kind of kept that quiet. He's part of the choir.
I can see him in a cassock.
Well, it could be one of these modern choirs. They might be doing sort of Queen song, "Don't Stop Me Now." Like Charlie would be able to do all that, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
But I said, I was about to leave it and thought, I'll pick this up tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I said, "Sorry, you off to choir practice?" He said, "No, the chiropractor."
Well, there you go.
Yeah, maybe he put his back out singing. Maybe that's what it was.
It could be.
So have you got some beautiful bits of mishearing? We'll have some of those.
Oh, I
And
like that, yeah.
The reason you ditched the shirt, what was the point? What was that? Andy, it was his little side profile with his little belly going on there.
I know, not good.
talksport.com/H&J. You can text to 81089. You can tweet to TSH&J.
I know you very much enjoyed Christian Romero's quote.
What a piece of work, eh?
Oh, he really is.
I mean, yes.
I particularly enjoyed this conversation Liam Rossini had with the press. He said, in my conversations with the ownerships and sporting directors, our plans are not solely based on whether we make the Champions League or not.
Yes.
But there's so many ifs. We just have to make sure that the if that we create is as positive as possible and that we're still in a position to do that. Honestly, it makes David Brent seem sensible, doesn't it? What on earth does that mean? Honestly, you give up, don't you?
Jonathan Wilson, the fine journalist,
coruscating,
has weighed in a little bit on your gaffer, hasn't he? It was quite a well, not so much a takedown. It was very subtle, but it felt quite damning, really.
Spot on.
If you want to go and check that out online.
I'm still waiting for the hierarchy. That's all of them. Up there.
Egg, Barley, Win, Stanley
and Stewart. I'm still waiting for them. I've asked them to come on the show and answer some of the questions that I've got.
As a concerned fan?
Yes,
you should have the right as a fan to ask questions of the board. You're a paying customer.
They don't need to, apparently. Well, they haven't got in touch with us. So
well, they haven't yet.
Not yet.
No.
Still open. The offer's still open, lads.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
I'd enjoy that. I'd sit back and watch. I'd be like that Michael Jackson thing with a popcorn.
Yeah, I got a few texts saying that it won't happen. I thought, well, it probably won't.
Yeah.
I think I know that.
Why not? You're asking politely, well, after a fashion.
No, it is politely.
Yeah.
It is. It's just...
You're going to have a reason. You may come away, Team Win, Stanley, Stewart and Egg Barley.
Is there any point in the future where these three people will stand up to be counted? Is it when Chelsea miss out on Europe? Will they then come out and explain it? Or is it next season when they're like, Spurs or West Ham down the bottom? Will they come out and explain it? Yeah. Or do they never have to explain what they've done?
We've got Johan Klanger, of course.
Oh, yeah.
In his clown car of recruitment. And he does come out and explain it, but what he says is rubbish. So sometimes you just don't want to know. Sometimes it's best not to know.
Maybe you're right.
Because none of it stacks up. We didn't want to panic buying January. Hello? Have you looked where we are in the league now? How much worse it's got since January? So anyway, we'll leave that behind. We are going to touch on Spurs, though, because there were some quite heavy online rumours today you've probably seen. Some people stating that in the next 24, 48 hours, by mutual consent, and I'm sure a lot of that will be Igor Tudor, everything, the tragedy that's hit his family, maybe feeling that he needs to take a step back, but the word is that they will agree to part ways. So who next? But Tom Barkley, the author of Miracle in Bilbao, blimey, do we need a bigger miracle than Bilbao at the moment, will be joining us. He's part of the Tottenham Way podcast as well. We'll be having a chat with him. Steve Harmison joins us. That's good. I love the tit for tat. I did know Kevin Phillips had been on today, having a pop back at Anthony Gordon. But we're going to talk to Steve Harmison. We'll talk Newcastle, but we will also have a chat about the Ben Stokes statement that he put out in light of Brendan McCullum and Rob Key staying on with England. And in France, Zinedine Zidane will take over from Didier Deschamps. So we'll get a reaction to that from Julien Laurent. And also, something was highlighted by Andy Brassel yesterday, that 1 and 2 in the French league, PSG and Lens, play each other around their big Champions League games, and they want it switched. But Lens are saying no. So at the moment they are. So we'll get the latest on that. And Michael Olise's hat that he turned up. They're real style council. Look at Ekatike's outfit.
I know, the French team.
It's like a catwalk when they walk into the car park into Clairefontaine. So we'll have a chat with Jules about that.
What a lovely girl she is.
Yeah, she's a lovely girl. There must be someone out there called Clairefontaine. There must be. Brilliant, isn't it? She gets an awful lot of praise, I'm sure, for the work she's done. The World Stone Skimming Championships aren't on until September, but there was accusations of skullduggery last year. And Dr. Carl Matthews, official tossmaster, oh, yeah, all right, that's what he's called, of the World Stone Skimming Championships, will be joining us to tell us how they plan to clamp down on it this time around. But we kick off talking a bit of Spurs with Tom Barkley of The Sun, the Tottenham Way podcast. We're here with our very good friends at Toolstation. Thanks for getting in touch this afternoon. Choir practice used to be slang for police officers all going round to one of their houses for a few 7 a.m. beers after finishing the last shift on a set of night shifts. Well, that's good to know. That's somebody who's ex-job, obviously. Yeah. So is that still the case? I wonder if there's any active coppers that still say we're all off to choir practice. Yeah, at the start of Circle of Life in The Lion King, it does sound to me like Arsene Wenger is being sung. I've never been able to hear that song without thinking of Arsene Wenger, says Matt in Islington. I put on a Palace shirt a few years back, expecting to look like Wilf Zaha. However, I saw Keith Deller staring back at me. Bit harsh to single out Keith there, Quinton, friend of the show and quite possibly listening. Talksport.com, text 1889, tweet TSH and J. No cut-off age for adults wearing football shirts, especially retro ones. Well, I suppose it's slightly different, isn't it?
Yeah.
They do look better with long sleeves, though, says Brad, the QPR fan. Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that, Brad. The old Toffs long sleeve, heavy cotton ones. They're different from wearing those sort of cut. I mean, the athletes, the lads who wear them. So, with respect, Andy.
I mean, it's amazing how slim footballers are. Right?
Is Andy Jacobs going to come up with a white T-shirt with a red cross on it? And here's one I made earlier. That's right, Andrew in Basingstoke.
I will, yeah.
Anyway, Tom Bartley kicking us off. We're here with Tool Station. Check out their wide range of garden power tools with brands such as Bosch and Ryobi. Next stop, Tool Station.
Hello, Barry. Good morning.
Okay?
Yeah. Go for it, Baz.
I just want to say, every Monday mid-morning, we have to listen to Martin going on and on and on. It just becomes too much, and it's making me want Man City to win because he's just moaning all the time.
Don't put it on me, fella. Don't put it on me, Barry. So all those times when we denied you winning those 3 Premier Leagues back in the day with Sir Ferguson, was that got something to do with it? Yeah, the fact that Man United players, the former players, have all got it against Arsenal. You Man United fans. If you could pick a team without me involved, don't involve me. Just say which is the team you despise the most in the Premier League. Come on, who is it?
We saw what a coward you were when
it's got that big now.
When you were managing,
it's got that big now that you even want your local rivals to win ahead of us. Well done to you. Well done. Look what happened to our local rivals.
To be honest, our main rivals.
Spurs. Start having your own things to go after as a football club. Don't just bash us. When was the day? When was the day Man United wanted to be champions? Will we see that again soon?
What's your results? Yeah, you will see that again, Mark.
Well, because you've got one game a week at the moment, haven't you? It's easy for you.
Barry, the floor is yours. Finish up.
Matt in Islington's got a point.
Yeah.
Now you've done it to us, Matt. We're all going to hear the same thing every
And
time.
John
we hear
Feely,
that song.
matata.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy were back on the sports bar last night, and Cundy, of course, was... What? Hang on, after the result you had at the weekend...
No, to be honest, they both had a go at each other, and Jason really gave Chelsea a serve. I was
okay. Anyway,
absolutely
Jason was certainly up to his old tricks when it came to Spurs.
£50 a ticket. That's what you get.
So can I just?
It's a disgrace.
It is a disgrace.
It is a disgrace.
Can I just, for the moment, just praise some of the Spurs fans, right? Because
what do you mean?
At 3-0 down, I've got to give them some credit, mate. At 3-0 down, the desire and the effort they put in to leave that stadium, fair play. They put more effort to leave the stadium than the players did on the pitch. Mate, good effort. They got up out their seats and they put a little trot on. They give a little run. They want to go for the cup final. The fans leaving
White
Hart Lane put more effort in to leave the stadium than the players did on the pitch.
Talk about being on shaky ground.
Yeah,
for goodness
very
sake.
shaky ground,
That's
Joe.
ridiculous.
Those masks as well. They look like they're going to do some freakish bank job to see Mikel Arteta and Ange brought in for questioning. Anyway, you probably saw on social media some pronouncements that within the next 24, 48 hours, there will be a parting of the ways between Spurs and Igor Tudor. Our understanding here at talkSPORT is that is still being discussed and no decisions have been made. Some of the options include, if they do make the change, Adi Hutter, which seems fairly bizarre. Robbie Keane has been mentioned, but he has a good gig at Ferencvaros. Why would he want to do that now? So I'm slightly editorialising there, aren't I? Roberto De Zerbi, I'm not altogether sure what a manager who wants a get-out clause if we go down. And Chrissy Hughton, who I think would do a good job for Spurs if given the opportunity.
Me too.
But let's see. Let's have a chat with the Sun's Tom Barkley, author of A Miracle in Bilbao. As we said, we need an even bigger miracle than Bilbao currently. So there'll be a new book in it for Tom. He's also part of the Tottenham Way podcast. Hi, Tom.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Yeah, I mean, you're pretty close to everything that's going on at Spurs. Is that your understanding that, despite what we've seen from some quarters on social media today, this hasn't been decided yet?
I don't think so, but it feels like the way it's going, obviously there's a certain level of sensitivity around Igor Tudor because his father passed away the other day. So I always thought that if they were going to make a decision, first of all, it might well be a mutual parting of the ways and it might not happen straight away. Remember, it's just under 3 weeks to their next fixture away at Sunderland. Lots of the players away on international duty, so there's no real rush to get in someone right now. They wouldn't have many players to work with anyway. So that doesn't mean it won't happen today if it is to happen, but if it's a bit longer than your average international managerial exit, that might well be the reason.
I'm just at a loss, Tom. We were chatting to the guys I go at the game with. You wonder where they turn to next. What kind of person, if they are going to make a change, comes in with their arm round the shoulder, another kick up the backside, someone who's a good organiser, someone who'll sort out them defensively and make them more solid and allow those forward players to have an impact. I don't know. You're watching the team professionally. I'm watching them as a fan, and I think we're all at a loss.
Yeah. That's the $1 million question, and the logic behind bringing Igor Tudor in, whilst he was a bit of a shock name at first, made sense. He had a track record of making quick impacts at clubs, albeit obviously not in the Premier League, and it hasn't worked out that way. Just 1 point from his 5 league games in charge. Ironically, the 1 point came at Anfield where no one really expected Tottenham to get anything. But the question when there were question marks around Thomas Frank's future long before he was finally sacked was who next? And it's exactly the same situation here. There are suggestions of certain people. I mean, with Roberto De Zerbi, my understanding generally has been he wanted to take a break after Marseille, and yes, he might be interested in the summer. Maybe things can change. I suppose money can always talk, and maybe there could be some sort of relegation release clause. But I personally would still be surprised if he were to take it now. As much of a coup as that would be for Spurs, because I think he's a fantastic manager. I mean, Chris Hughton makes a lot of sense because, there have been a lot of shouts for Harry Redknapp, but first of all, that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Chris Hughton's had a lot more sort of more recent managerial experience towards the bottom of the Premier League. You know, when he sort of established Brighton and other teams as well. He's obviously got the Spurs history. The one name you didn't mention was Ryan Mason. I mean, there are two reasons why I feel like Ryan Mason would make sense. One, he's obviously done the job before, but more to the point, he has worked with the players very recently. He was on Ange Postecoglou's coaching staff just last season, and you got to wonder if they do make a change now with someone who doesn't know the players at all, particularly someone who comes from a foreign league like we've just seen with Igor Tudor. How long is it going to take for the sort of gelling period and the adaptation to the squad going to take? Because we're running out of time. Whereas with Mason, he already knows the players. There are only 7 games to go. That, to my mind, makes a lot of sense, but we're still waiting on that front.
For me, it's a harder job than it was. I mean, looking at 2 previous results to Sunday were quite encouraging, and I honestly believed, and especially watching the first half an hour, that Spurs were going to go and win the game. It felt the crowd were behind them. Everything was in their favour. That result was a shock in the end. I mean, it really was, and it leaves Spurs, I think, in an incredibly difficult position.
It's just the reaction to adversity that we've seen before, and that is a hallmark of teams that go down, isn't it? As soon as something goes against you, how often have we seen relegated sides hit the bar, hit the post, have a good 20 minutes, half an hour, as soon as the goal goes against them, they collapse, and that did have a feel of that.
100%. I mean, you mentioned it, Andy, that they had actually had a relatively good week. I mean, the spirit they showed at Liverpool had not been on show at Tottenham for a very long time. You thought maybe a corner was going to turn. But one of the sort of marks against Tudor's name, I think, for that final match was his halftime substitutions, bringing on a very rusty-looking Destiny Udogie and Lucas Bergvall as almost like a panic response to conceding that goal just before half-time, was, to my mind, a big reason why they went on to lose the game so comfortably. They did shade the first half. They were good. They deserved to probably be in front, let alone be behind. And had they sort of stuck with what they were doing, you feel like obviously it's all hindsight, but you feel like they would have had a better chance of getting back into the game. Those substitutions seemed to change the game. They suddenly had far less attacking threat and looked way more vulnerable at the back, and Nottingham Forest took full advantage. And as you say, it's now 13 games without a win in the Premier League. We're sort of back to where we were before this relatively positive week. And, you know, Spurs' hierarchy, they sort of dithered really with Thomas Frank because they wanted to make it work, but also because of the lack of viable alternatives. The only reason why Igor Tudor may still be in a job after this international break is the same reason. They may think, well, there's just not really much else out there. But I'd say at this point, I still think it's more likely he goes than stays.
And finally, Tom, sorry, Gus Poyet was on with Jim White and Simon Jordan earlier on, and Jim asked him, what would be the first thing you'd do if you were the new Spurs manager? And he said, I'd sit down with Christian Romero, and I could do it in Spanish, so I'd get the truth, I'd get the subtleties and the nuances, and I'd ask him, you tell me what the problem is, you tell me what's going on, which is fine if in a lot of people's eyes he wasn't part of the problem, because here he is again today saying, I'm going to give 200%, it's tough. But talk is cheap. And there were a few moments in the game the other day where I felt as fans we were shortchanged by our skipper. And there have been quite a few instances recently when I've kind of felt he's checked out. He clearly claims that's not the case, but that you know, when you're club captain, when you've got doubts about your club captain, you're fighting for your lives, that is a concern as well.
Certainly is. I was sitting next to talkSPORT legend Tony Cascarino at the game the other day, and he was pointing out to me Romero's culpability for the second goal. I mean, he just bombed up the pitch trying to make things happen because, you know, he's such a talented player. He has done that this season where he's got them out of the mire at the attacking end of the pitch. But the way he jogs back for the crucial second goal, not getting back in position before Gibbs White makes it 2-0, it wasn't really good enough. And we've seen that at times from Romero. And you've mentioned, not to plug my book again, but back to Bilbao, he was the driving force behind them getting over the line there. That until this season, same with Mickey van der Ven, who obviously had that fantastic goal line clearance, their legacy at Tottenham, were they to leave this summer and Spurs stay up, I think will remain the heroics of winning Spurs their first trophy in 17 years. If they play their part in a negative way and Spurs getting relegated, that gets completely superseded by the relegation for the first time in Premier League history. So their legacies are on the line on a personal perspective, as are obviously the team.
Yeah, well, let's hope that there's recognition of that in their eyes before the end of the season. Good to talk to you, Tom. Thanks very much.
My pleasure, guys.
Son's Tom Bartley there from the Tottenham Way podcast and the author of Miracle in Bilbao. And if there is any breaking news, I'm sure Alex Crook and Ben Jacobs and our team will be right across everything that's going on at Spurs and elsewhere. We will bring it to you. But Steve Harmison joins us next. John Norman joined us yesterday to bring us the news that Brendan McCullum and Rob Key were staying to look after the England team going
people
forward.
Don't seem particularly impressed with this.
Jeffrey Boycott got stuck in a big piece in the Telegraph today. He thinks a head or heads should have rolled, and I think Michael Vaughan kind of thinks similarly, doesn't he? So we'll talk to Harmy about that. Ben Stokes' statement, quite sweary statement, that he issued afterwards on the news that they'd kept their jobs, and a bit of Newcastle, this to and fro with Anthony Gordon, Kevin Phillips and others around whether Sunderland are any good or not. Well, they look pretty decent on Sunday. Anyway, that's all to come.
If you cast your mind back to the Antonio Conte days, you may remember one press conference in particular, which has gone down in Spurs history. Last week marked 3 years since this iconic rant. Let's have a listen again.
They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Yeah, it's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this. 20 years that there is the owner and never won something. But why? Only for the fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here. And I have seen the manager that Tottenham had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and to protect the other situation in every moment. And now, until now, I try to hide the situation, but now no, because I repeat, I don't want to see what I have seen today, because this is unacceptable. Also for the respect for the fans. They follow us, pay the tickets, and to see the team another time, to have this type of performance, for me, I repeat, this is unacceptable.
Wow.
Hey.
Well, you lost the plot there, didn't you? I didn't hear no press. They were loving it, weren't they, the press?
Go and hide.
Do you know that was after, Ali? I've been told that was after the 3-3 draw at Southampton. And if they'd won that game, they would have gone into third place.
Joking.
Third place. So that's amazing, isn't it? 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
We're told Spurs are still making up their minds on who's best to steer the club away from relegation. Harry Redknapp had thought Spurs could finish 5th or 6th this season.
But it's been another year of disaster. And people keep saying, well, I know they've got the injuries, but that squad on Sunday was good enough to have got a result.
Spurs are keen to give Igor Tudor space and time following the death of his father. Other options are ex-Monaco head coach Adi Hütter, former Spurs players Chris Hughton and Robbie Keane, although Keane wants a longer-term deal. And we're told Roberto De Zerbi's waiting to see if Spurs stay up. Now, one man who never got the chance to represent his country has told us Ben White deserves his second chance. Kevin Nolan says White's versatility as a player makes him a good option.
What he's got to do now is go and show Thomas that he can be part of a squad and a team for the World Cup.
Meanwhile, the fallout from the Tyne-Wear derby continues.
Anthony Gordon is a fantastic player, but he didn't turn up in the first game and he didn't pretty much turn up in the second game apart from the goals. So it's a big statement.
Sunderland legend Kevin Phillips after Newcastle's Anthony Gordon's comments about Sunderland not being very good. And former England coach Paul Farbrace thinks sticking with Brendan McCullum is the right call.
I actually admire Rob Key and the ECB for standing up and actually standing their ground. They genuinely believe they've got the right people.
The ECB are trying to tighten up what they felt was a loose culture around the England Test team following that disastrous Ashes. There's more at talkSPORT.com.
Good afternoon, it is Paul Hawksbee Jacobs here on talkSPORT. A little bit later on we'll be chatting about a new documentary series on the great Johan Cruyff with the director of it. But before that, a bit of cricket, bit of football with our next guest, starting with the cricket, because after that confirmation that Brendan McCullum and Rob Key will stay on with England, Ben Stokes, the skipper, set out a post talking about how happy he is about that. Bit sweary to show his passion, no doubt, of how much he loves the game and loves them and loves working with them.
I actually think it's the right decision because they've got this summer now. And if they don't do it this summer, then there won't even be a question about it. Whereas if you got rid of them now, if they bring somebody else in, no guarantees, give them the chance. They've admitted they know they got it completely wrong.
Yeah.
I'd give them this summer, but we'll see. Not
as we
everybody
said,
wants to.
Jeffrey Boycott is not in agreement. Let's see what Steve Harmison makes of it. Hi, Harmy. Oh, hello, Harmy. Can we go?
I can see him.
There he is.
Yes, we can hear you.
Loud and clear, yeah.
Afternoon. How are we? Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, not quite in the agreements with Jeffrey, but I'm not also in Andy's camp. I looked at yesterday and I thought Robin and Richard Gould did a great job at telling me what we wanted to hear, giving a lot of management speak. There was a lot of sort of slides and everything that went with it. We know what happened. We know what went wrong. It's about what we're going to get right, how we're going to put it right. There's no selector. That needs to be addressed. I've had many phone calls off journalists asking if I'm interested, and I've said no. I've gone for it twice, and it didn't end well both times. So I'm not interested, and especially the way I've spoke about this, regime and Brendan McCullum. And I look at it and think, what are they going to do to get it right? Are their players going to play county cricket to get themselves in a better position to be prepared for the first Test match this summer? That's a wait and see. Who's going to be selected in the side? Rob Key's talking about two coaches from the first division and two coaches from the second division having some input in selection. I can't wait to see Brendan McCullum's face when two coaches from either division tell him you can't pick Zach Crawley, you've got to pick somebody at the top of the order who's actually going to defend the ball and try and absorb the game. Watch your space on that one. And a little bit alarming where I'm thinking I've been consistent saying I think Brendan McCullum should have lost his job of the debacle of what happened in Australia. If Brendan McCullum stays in New Zealand right up until the end of May, and he's not over here being seen around county cricket and being seen around his players, how they're preparing, getting ready for that first Test match, then I think it would have been right to sack him at the end of the Ashes.
I mean, you're right. One thing they can't keep doing is just keep picking the same players, and they're failing, and they keep giving them. We all know who they are, and that can't happen anymore. I think you've got to. There must be some sort of jeopardy about playing for England. You've got to feel, if I don't do it in the next couple of games, I'm out. Not I'm going to be here for 3 years, and it doesn't matter what I do, really.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. And Rob said at the end, when he talked about it yesterday, he said the second part of the winter, i.e. Sri Lanka and India, the World Cup, we turned a little bit of a corner. The relationship between McCullum and Brook was good. I mean, Sri Lanka were a bang average team, and no matter what Rob says about, you can't play just crash bang wallet cricket in Sri Lanka. I was out there in Sri Lanka commentating on Sri Lanka in a part of the world where spin should play. It should be a huge part, and the batters should play. I find it difficult playing against spin. I mean, the Sri Lankan batters, other than Ratnayaka, is the only one that picked Adil Rashid out of his hand. The rest were playing off his pitch, which tells me that Sri Lanka are a poor side, and then we went into the World Cup, and an England side should be finishing in the semi-finals minimum in the World Cup. So I'm not sure I took away too much credit given into the bank of the management team going forward. And again, comes back to, what are you going to do now? How are you going to prepare your players to get through 3 test matches against New Zealand, 3 test matches against Pakistan, a white ball tour against India? And, like I said, some of the noises was great. It's really what I wanted to hear. It's understanding that we made mistakes. Now about actions, about putting them right. Where's my coach? Where's my coach going to be come by the end of April and all of May, when we're trying to put this right from an Ashes debacle?
I was kind of surprised he wasn't there yesterday. I did say that to John. John said he's got a family, he's been travelling a lot, but I don't know, it's 3 days there and back, but the optics of him not being there, I was a bit surprised at, Army.
Yeah, I mean, I heard what John said, and I thought some of John's questions to Rob and to Richard Gould were like Nasser's and Arthur's. I've seen that, and I heard what they said to Sir Alistair Cook and Michael Vaughan last night. I've not seen their podcast, but I heard what they said on the radio last night. And Rob sounded, he looked tired, he looked knackered. I thought he did a good job at spelling out what they felt as though they went wrong. But again, fronting up. Rob's fronted up. Richard Gould's fronted up. We've only heard McCullum 2 or 3 times in the space of the last 6 months. Again, another reason why I probably would have... And they're saying it would have been an easy decision to get rid of him. And it probably would have been an easy decision to get rid of him. But what's telling me from the last however many weeks that I think Brendan McCullum can either change or turn this round. England should be beating New Zealand 2-1, 3-0. Pakistan are a shambles at this moment in time. England should be beating Pakistan in the test matches 3-0 minimum. They should be whitewashing Pakistan. When we come up against the big sides, what is going to change and give me confidence as a former England player who loves England doing well? Doesn't sound like it sometimes, but I love England when they're winning. And I always want them to win. But when they play against the big teams, what's convincing me over the course of this last few weeks, and where I think, can England beat India? Can England win the Ashes? I always have struggling to find out and think that McCullum's the man to take us forward.
Let's just turn to Newcastle very quickly after the weekend and Anthony Gordon. It did feel a bit sour grapes. I don't quite know the context of the quotes. I think he seemed more disappointed with himself and his own players. But I mean, he does actually say, because I don't think they're actually as good as we are. Yeah, it doesn't look great. I mean, what was your take on it?
It doesn't look great. As a Newcastle fan covering Newcastle as reporting, I think if you go 1-11, if you go 1-20, in both games, you'd say before the game starts, Newcastle have got a better side than Sunderland. Derby football, in pressure situations of the utmost hostile atmosphere, the things that you need, it's not technical ability, it's not pace, it's not power, it's not being able to score goals and being able to finish international style. It's about attitude, it's about desire, it's about hunger to win a game. I think Sunderland had that in abundance in both games. And I think that's why they deserve to win both games. It's as simple as that. Anthony Gordon might have a point that Newcastle probably have got better players than Sunderland. But in the derby, in both games, they showed better qualities of what you need in derby football, I think, to take the well-deserved victories. And there's a lot of talk about Eddie Howe and the question marks. I find it quite difficult because I like Eddie. I've got a huge amount of respect for him. I don't want to see him leave the football club. And when I'm hearing supporters saying Eddie Howe's taking us as far as we can go, I actually think it's the opposite. I actually think Newcastle United have taken Eddie Howe as far as he can go.
That's a good point. A very good point. Cheers.
Training ground not there. Transfer windows. He's got to take responsibility of the last transfer window from some of the players that come in. But there's a hell of a lot that in 4 years since Eddie Howe's taken over, 19th in the league, 3 chief executives, 3 directors of football, promise of a training ground, promise of a new stadium, the club going forward, a chief exec saying we're going to be the best, putting pressure on them saying we're going to be the best team by 2030 in the world, I don't think is helping Eddie Howe. So when anybody tells me that Eddie Howe has taken Newcastle as far as they can go, I don't think that's right. I think Eddie Howe has been taken as far as he can go by Newcastle United.
No, very fair point, Steve. Good to talk to you. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Steve Harmison, there you hear him on the Following On podcast, Cricket Collective and the Cricket YouTube channel. Of course, as the summer unfolds, County Championship is underway, isn't it? They've been playing today, haven't they?
It's just listening to Steve there. It's amazing how many of the so-called bigger clubs are really struggling.
Yeah.
Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Newcastle.
Yeah.
All the fans really unhappy. And all the teams like Everton and Sunderland and Brentford and then Brighton, they're all delighted because they're having a great season.
Yeah, well, you can argue it's good for the league.
Yeah, maybe it is.
Because, there's plenty of other leagues where that doesn't happen. So you can catch all the fallout from a disastrous week for Newcastle, if you really want to, Sunderland fans, on the talkSPORT Daily podcast. Ollie Klink, Jack Cunningham, John Angelina Kelly to discuss whether the Eddie Howe era is reaching a natural end. Obviously, Harmy disagrees. And they'll be asking if the 2030 title plan is a fantasy and who should replace Howe if he walks. The talkSPORT Daily podcast is available on all podcast platforms now. Zinedine Zidane will be back in management after the World Cup for France. We'll get the thoughts of Julien Laurent, see what the word is out there. And Michael Elise's hat in some detail. If you haven't seen it, we'll talk you through it. We're here with...
Sounds like a fanzine, doesn't it?
It does. Latest edition. Get your toolbox essentials this spring with Toolstation. Big savings on screws and fixings. Next stop, Toolstation.
One of the big talking points was, have you heard about the result from the North East? Sunderland go to St James's Park and won, and they did. Sunderland completed the domestic double over their rivals thanks to a late 2-1 win at Newcastle, and it sees Sunderland leapfrog Newcastle in the league, 1 point clear in 11th. It's hard to imagine it, Martin, but in their debut Premier League return, are they now firmly out of Newcastle's shadow?
Well, I mean, okay, Eddie was saying about the number of games that they've had to play and the calibre of player they're up against. The squad maybe is not equipped well enough, perhaps, to with all the resources they've got financially. They haven't been able to capitalise on that, have they, because of the financial fair play. So, but in the meantime, Sunderland have caught up with them. I mean, Jacques is a really important player, by the way. When he was out for a while, Sunderland suddenly started looking like a championship team.
Yeah.
But now that he's back in the team, Brobby up top. Too much to handle. Couldn't deal with him, Jim. And it's all these games, successive games. But it was a big game in the minds of these Newcastle players. They put it there as one that they could go and win it. And it's tricky now for Eddie between now and the end of the season, Jim, to try and fix this problem.
Well, it is. Simon, a difficult week for him.
Yeah.
7-2 capitulation in Barcelona. Then they lose at home to their closest of rivals. What is the more chastening result for Eddie?
I think probably the Sunderland result, because it follows on the back of a necessity to bounce back. You've got to live in this city, and the rivalry between these two football clubs is significant. You've already been beaten by them once. The last thing you want to be doing is following up a bad result against Barcelona, where you've had your backsides handed to you in the second half.
Well, word leaked out over the last couple of days. Not a massive surprise that Zinedine Zidane is the person taking over from Didier Deschamps after a pretty amazing 14 years and very successful years, broadly in the job, of course, as France coach. Here to chat about that and more is French football expert Julien Laurent. Hi, Jules.
Hello, boys.
So I take it, I mean, look, everybody kind of knew this was going to happen, but what's been the reaction amongst French football fans? Are they pleased?
Yeah, you're right. It was the worst kept secret in French football right now. We all knew it was just a question of when it would be announced. When do you do it best? Do you wait for the World Cup to be over, regardless of where France finished? Do you do a bit before so everybody knows and we can kind of celebrate Deschamps through the competition? It was a bit difficult. And then on Sunday, the head of the French FA, Philippe Diallo, gave an interview to a French newspaper, Le Figaro, where he said, I know who it is. I know who's coming in now. And that's just the little thing we waited, all of us, all in the French media, to go out and because we knew it was Zidane, it was just not. But he would be him. He's working on the stuff that he would bring with him. There's the guys who were with him in Madrid, for example. There might be a couple of new faces maybe, and there's still a lot of things to sort out for his comms team, for example, and that kind of thing. But overall, yeah, we knew it was going to be him. The French Federation received 5 candidates, really. They had 5 CVs they received from French managers who could take over the job, but really there was only one guy for it.
We've seen him in the past, Jules. I mean, certainly, most notably, would probably Beckenbauer, Germany. They have a succession plan, and the person taking over goes to a tournament, goes to a World Cup or Euros, and works with the existing coach in a kind of handover. Is that likely to happen here, or is there a bit of a personality issue maybe with Zidane and Deschamps?
Yeah. No, it won't happen. Deschamps will go on his own with the current staff and the 25, 26 players he will choose for it. And Zidane, I suspect, will either watch on TV or might be in the US. We might see him there coming to watch the game, low-key a little bit maybe, but already preparing for him taking over, the first international break, but really at the start of maybe September or something like that, and be introduced officially and then start working. But I think he would have started work already anyway. And certainly in the French national team history, we've had contracts for those kind of head coaches finishing after a tournament, and then you decide either you continue with this guy and give him another cycle, 2 or 4 years, or you move on and you go with somebody else, and that's what they did again.
For me, he seems like a perfect choice for a national manager. He's a player that everybody will look up to because of what he achieved in the game and what he achieved at Real Madrid, dealing with, superstars. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're right. And to be fair as well, when you know the kind of profile that he is as a manager, in terms of the management skills that are obviously incredible, but even the pragmatism that I think that he uses when he coaches. I remember seeing him and interviewing in the second spell at Real Madrid when he said, I'm not going to tell Luka Modric how to pass the ball. He does that so well. He can scan, he can take the information, he knows what to do, he sees the game. But what I can do is I can put him in the right context, in the right environment, the perfect situation for him, give him the right confidence, the love that he needs to express all the qualities that he already has that I can't make better in the best possible for our team. And for a national team, I think this is perfect because you don't see the players that often, but when you're with them, that's the kind of things you need to transmit.
I take it the French press pack who've gone out for these two friendlies in the States will be asking questions of the players or Deschamps about Zidane, but I take it the French Football Federation would just be shutting it down, won't they?
Yeah. We the boys had a day off yesterday. They went to Clairefontaine yesterday, but they had an evening off. Sorry, not the day off, but the evening off. So we saw Mbappe, for example, who was doing something commercial, and we asked him the question cheekily, and we knew exactly what he was going to say. He said, I don't know anything about it, so go and ask the federation. So it will be like that, but all the boys know, everybody knows it's Zidane, and all the boys, to go back to your initial point, are very excited that Zidane is taking over.
Yeah, and it's almost like Paris Fashion Week when the guys turn up at Clairefontaine now.
Amazing.
Hugo, I mean, but what are you wearing should be the first question you should be asking of people like Ekatiko, and especially Michael Olise. We like Michael Olise's Jamiroquai hat. That went down a storm. Are you going to be getting yourself one of those, Jules?
Well, I think it looked good on you, Paul. That's for sure. And you would like Andy as well. That's probably Andy in the 70s. He was wearing stuff like
probably
that.
He was, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ekitike, so don't get fooled. In his hand, it's not a long, super long sleeve. That's his boots that are wide, but it goes well with the rest of the outfit. Not sure about the leather trousers, I won't lie. But you're right. It looks like Fashion Week.
Yeah, they look $1 million. And the fact that he's been played in the States, it seems like a good move. I'm sure some of the managers won't be happy about the excess travelling, the club managers, but it probably is a sensible move, isn't it?
Yeah, they wanted to go. They will stay where they will stay at the World Cup, and that's what Deschamps wanted. I saw him yesterday. We had a long interview, and it's very important for him, for the players to already have their bearings. We know usually, boys, that those squads in March, the last squad before the ones that will go to the World Cup, it's 95% the same one that will go for the tournament. So he really wanted the boys to be in the same environment, that they will be back there at the at beginning of June to go to the World Cup. So yeah, I agree with you. It's positive. See how long you take to acclimate to the change of time, the weather different, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's good that they go there first before the World Cup.
Very quick one on the domestic front I want to ask you about. Andy Brassel alerted us to this yesterday. PSG play Lens, who are right up their backside in the league, couple of points behind them, more or less. And that's the sandwich between the two Liverpool games in the Champions League. They've asked to have the game postponed. From what we understand, Lens have said no. So where are we at the moment with that? Because obviously they can only do it once, we're told, and that this could come up again further down the chain before the semi-final. So what's likely to happen, Jules?
It's a great question, and we can talk about it again. We will know on Thursday, so tomorrow, or in 2 days' time, we will know the decision will be taken, because Lens can say whatever they want. It's not their decision, it's the league decision. So the league will have to decide what they want to do. It's massively controversial, obviously. PSG did it between the two Chelsea games, who were back-to-back as well. And this time will be the last one, though, Paul, because there's only one window then when you can replay this game. I think it will be really unfair on Lens, on the league, in terms of ethic, in terms of the kind of example that you could show for the people watching your league. Who this will be the league final, because they, as you said, head to head, neck in neck, or for the title. I don't think it would be a good thing to postpone it. I think it make a joke of the league, really. And again, Lens don't want to, and rightly so. They don't want to postpone it, but it's not their call. From a PSG point of view, yeah, of course, surely it helps to have a weekend off, but I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Will there be political pressure, you think, on the league to cave and say yes?
We'll see, yeah. Usually, it's not the first time. For the last 20 years, all the clubs that go that kind of far in Europe, it happens that it's a lot PSG, but all the clubs can ask. Strasbourg have asked also for the game in the league, which is between the two games against Mainz in the Conference League, to also be postponed for the same reason as PSG. It's just that this game is a bit different. It's Lens v PSG. It's the final of the league, really. You could easily see the winner of that winning the title. It's not the Strasbourg game against Brest that really has not much of an impact on what's going to happen in the table. Lens PSG is a very different story. So I think they have to be very careful about this one.
I was saying yesterday, I don't think UEFA should allow leagues to do this and teams to do this. It's a completely...
It does feel wrong. It does feel wrong.
Completely
Jules, thank you. We'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, boys. Take care.
There we are. When that decision is made, we'll bring it to you on Thursday here on talkSPORT. Still to come this afternoon, boxing trainer Adam Booth joins us. Moses Itoma versus Jermaine Franklin. A fascinating fight this weekend. A real step up in class for Moses Itoma. We'll get Adam's take on how he sees the fight. A new documentary on the late, great Johan Cruyff. 10 years to the day since he sadly passed away. But the new series does look fantastic. And lots more besides.
It's the world's most vocal Arsenal fan, Piers Morgan. Good morning, Piers, or is it a good morning, my friend?
Good morning, Piers.
Can I just say that when your brilliant team, well, good morning first of all, Ali, and particularly, of course, to Ray and Emmanuel, two great heroes of mine. When I agreed to do this interview, obviously I did so in the overconfident expectation that I would be regaling your listeners, and indeed the three of you, with my joyous recounting of Arsenal's triumphant victory. So to say that when I woke up this morning and suddenly remembered what I had to do was one of the worst moments of my life is the understatement of the millennium. But anyway, good morning to you.
Listen, but we do appreciate at least it wasn't a no-show, Piers. It wasn't a no-show.
No, I didn't pull on Adam Brazil.
No, there was no slight strain in the hamstring from you this morning, to be fair. Where did it go wrong?
We didn't turn up, did we? Yeah. And there is an issue here. I mean, look, I've been listening this morning. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that the difference between Arteta and Guardiola, I think, was laid bare a little bit yesterday with this decision about the goalkeeper. Because when Arteta came to Arsenal, he said the one thing he'd really learned from Pep was you've got to be ruthless if you want to win things. And the truth is, the ruthless decision would have been to have played Raya, who is right now arguably the best goalkeeper in the world, in sensational form.
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan van range. Scoring a winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. Gus Poyet has told talkSPORT he kept Sunderland up from a far worse position than Spurs find themselves in. The former Tottenham midfielder turned coach reckons he could do it again, but admits it's easy to say that from the outside.
Do you remember when Harry Redknapp, after Juan de Ramos, we left, he put the ketchup back in the table? Are you going to win or lose because of a ketchup? Come on, stop it.
Yeah.
Now, that the players, they need something. Yes.
Yeah.
But I think it's simple. As simple as possible, play the players in the best position and play.
The matter of Igor Tudor's immediate future is a highly sensitive one following the death of his father. talkSPORT's Simon Jordan doesn't think he should be precluded from getting the sack, but it's important the hierarchy handle the situation properly.
I'd be doing it by saying to the man himself, not from one of my acolytes or one of the people that was delegated to take these sort of decisions. If I'm the decision maker, I'd be the person saying to Igor Tudor, look, I hear you have the greatest sympathy for me in the circumstances in your life, but we are going to look at the professional side of this relationship.
The EFL have confirmed when this season's playoffs will take place, with the finals over the late May bank holiday weekend. Championship games on the last day of the regular season will kick off at 12:30. The final round of matches in Leagues 1 and 2 will start at 3 p.m. on Saturday, the 2nd of May. And the Snooker World Championship will continue to be held at the Crucible until at least 2045, with an option to stage it until 2050. A £45 million redevelopment will see the capacity of the famous theatre increase by 500 seats. There's more at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The Chancellor says she'll meet supermarket and bank bosses this week to minimise the impact of rising oil costs, and transgender children have been told they must leave the Girl Guides by September. More from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Our expert technicians can't do your spring cleaning, but they can keep your car's inbuilt safety tech in top nick. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
Colder conditions on the way this afternoon, with a band of rain moving southeastwards.
Paul Hawksbee and Ali Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Coming up in the second hour today, boxing trainer Adam Booth joins us. Moses Toma versus Jermaine Franklin this weekend. It's live on talkSPORT, and Adam's going to give us his take on that one fight. Very much looking forward to, actually. It should be a cracker. Really interesting to see him going against someone who's been around the block a bit like that, see if he is the real deal. You kind of sense he is. But anyway, we'll see. Sam Blair is the director of the new Johan Cruyff documentary series. It's a 4-parter. It's incredible access to the Cruyff family's home movies, and some really great interviews in there with, amongst others, Pep Guardiola and Ruud Gullit, Xavi, and lots of other people as well. So Sam will tell us more later. And Shabana Hearn joins us from Weekend Breakfast, of course. We've got Arsenal-Chelsea in the Women's Champions League. The quarterfinals get underway this evening, and we'll be having a chat with Shaban. We mentioned earlier on, Andy decided to check out of wearing the current replica shirts a few years back. He just wasn't sure. He thought he'd reached the cut-off. Although, this is from Maskell, Fresh Kicks.
I definitely wouldn't be wearing it this season.
No, okay. Maskell, Fresh Kicks HQ in Boston says, so many people saying fully grown adults should wear football shirts. No age to wearing football shirts. I'm 39 and wear football shirts all the time. Forest, Boston United, Juve and Gremio. It's an interesting eclectic mix there. Any shirt that fits nice. They're very comfortable, and more importantly, you don't need to iron them. Now, that is very true, isn't it? That is why they do
wash
go
really
down.
well.
Rather. So it's a yes from me, says Maskell. Thank you very much for that. A former work colleague, Jonathan Chopper Harris. I suppose if you're called Harris, you're either Bomber or Chopper, aren't you, really?
True,
Would constantly ask you to repeat yourself. I said, you need your ears syringing, to which he replied, I do not need my ears seeing to, thus proving my point. Oh, there we are. And I could never understand why Fred Truman said Hull City at the end of Indoor League. As it was years later, I realised he was saying Hull City.
Hull City.
Les, the troubled Spurs fan, thank you very much. This was me thinking, the producer telling me last night, I'm just off to choir practice. And I had no idea of his choir background, but what he actually said was, I'm just off to the chiropractor. So maybe I need my
all the tech ops have got their own choir, and Sean is the master.
Really? It's like a team of them. They all go off singing. They keep it quiet. They'll just do a big concert for us one day. Knock our socks off. Anyway, we enter the world of stone skimming now. The World Stone Skimming Championships come up in September. But you may recall that the world of stone skimming was rocked last year by accusations of cheating. People turning up with the quote was suspiciously circular-shaped stones. So they're not going to let that happen this time.
No.
And here to tell us why is the man in charge, Dr. Carl Matthews, is the official tossmaster of the World Stone Skimming Championships. Good afternoon, Kyle.
Good afternoon, guys. Nice to see you. How are you getting on?
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So, how did this skullduggery? I mean, was it ever proven, or was it just a suspicion that this was going on?
Well, it was proven, I think, in the best way possible, in that the competitors in question admitted it. One of the slight problems with a stone skimming competition, if you are looking for evidence of tampered stones, they are currently sitting about 30 meters deep down in the bottom of a quarry. So it is hard to actually get that evidence. But look, as an organizer of a tournament, it's flattering that people want to win the competition so badly that they're willing to take that step. So if anything, it's a sign of how good the competition is and the level of prestige it has now got, particularly obviously the pinnacle of the stone skimming sporting calendar.
Indeed.
Yeah, we speak to the World Conker Championship people, and I think they give each competitor a conker, so they can't bring their own. They can't sort of.
Well, this is what I was going to ask you, Carl. I take it you issue stones that you guys choose to be skimmed, but were they switching out? Was that what was going on?
Yeah, so yes and no. So all I'll say is, we're often compared to the Conkers Championship, and I think, we're more in the world of Olympics, I would suggest, going on here. So one of the things you got to realize about this tournament is where it's held. It is on a tiny island in the Hebrides called Easdale, and it was really first famous in the kind of 1800s as an island that quarried slate for roofs that went round the world. Because the islands are made of slate and are sitting on the Atlantic coast, waves bashing the beaches, they are full of perfectly the best stone skimming stones, flat, round. This is why it is one of the greatest places to throw stones. And because of that, one of the features of the tournament is players are allowed to come and choose their own stones. Right. And many competitors, that's part of the fun of turning up. The serious men and women, they come up weeks, months in advance to have the beaches to themselves, to really look for that winning stone that's there, and then take them away and even practice with them. We have a few rules regarding the stones. So the main thing it has to be from the island. It has to be naturally formed, and it has to be under 3 inches in diameter. Right. Now, for the event itself, we do, as organizers, we do select about 1,000 stones ourselves and have them ready to go. But the keen competitors, really, they want to choose their own and make sure it's up to their high standards. And then on the day, for example, if you guys were competing, you would have your stones. You'd either choose them from our bucket or your hand-selected ones. You come up to the throwing area, which is called the Skim of Destiny. Right. This is a large stone slate plinth. You meet me and one of my volunteers, and your stones must, if you can, for your visual viewers here, I've got what is called the Ring of Truth.
I can see that.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Flat
like a toilet seat, but here we go.
Looks like the winning. It looks like the winning post in the Donkey Derby. Quite a short one. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
We'll move away from toilet seat imagery.
Yeah.
And all the stones must pass exactly through that. And the truth is, what happened last year is a few competitors the year before had acquired some larger stones. Right. Had taken them away and made sure they fit through the Ring of Truth, and had tampered with them in that way. And the great thing about this is, I'll be honest, I watch every single throw as the toss master. Technically, you could blame me for having let these stones slip by.
You need VAR, Kyle. You need VAR to come in. There's definitely.
Well, I tell you what, we don't need VAR, because unlike the world of football, what I discovered was the skimming world was united. Because after the event happened, I started getting calls from fellow participants, other skimmers, competitors, to alert me to this problem. You do have a lot of throws. It's 400 people compete on the day. Your audience may not realize just how big this is. Last year, we had competitors from 27 different countries. We had just under 2,500 people come to the island on the day. Now, this island is only 1.5 kilometers in circumference. There's only 60 of us on it normally. So it is a big event, and we have people throwing stones every 20 seconds to get through before the tide comes in and floods.
Andy, what do you want to say this?
Well, I'm just interested because Jonathan Jennings, who won it last year, he skimmed 3 stones, a cumulative 177 metres. Well, it's not like a javelin. How do you actually measure it? You can't have somebody in a boat waiting at a certain... Is that how you...
We're nearly out of time. Can you briefly explain how you measure it for us, Carl?
Yeah, very quickly. So it's a 4-sided quarry, flooded. So one of those sides of the quarry, we have judges every 5 metres. And basically, as a stone goes past them, they record the distance. Very simply, it is the furthest throw wins. The quarry is 63 metres long. The best in the world can hit that, and then they go through to what's called the toss-off, where in the toss-off, the rules change slightly, where it is the cumulative score of every throw is added together. And in the toss-off, the person who has the biggest cumulative total wins, which is what John was referring to, our first American winner there. And it is a fantastic event, a unique sporting event in the world, in a unique location. For your listeners, always looking out for support, particularly people can help transport the thousands that are attending for this little small island. So if any of your listeners out there, buses, tour companies, would like to partner with us, that's actually what we really need to help get all these thousands to come to the event here this year.
Carl, great to talk to you. You're going to cut out all this skullduggery, which is great, and maybe we'll catch up with you after the event. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure, no problem. Nice to talk.
Dr. Carl Matthews there, and you boy at the back. Grow up.
We should cover it.
That's what they call it.
I know.
We've got no control over that.
I was going to say some stuff, but I thought I'd better not. No. Dance could commentate on it. I think we could like darts on the radio. It could be.
They said it wouldn't work. And darts, we've made things they said never. Well, apart from poker, obviously, Beaky. But I mean, we've made most things work on the radio. We may have juggling on this show soon.
Oh yeah.
And we may break that. We didn't make break dancing work on Jim's show either, did we? So
no,
that's
not
it. We can make juggling. Okay, we can make some things work. But yeah, we're going to. So the world scone, not scone. I knew I was going to do that.
Scone,
the scone skimming championship.
I like that. Yeah.
Surely they don't pick up enough moisture. It would work, wouldn't it? So anyway, we move on. We return to the world of football, and we got some big Women's Champions League games over the next couple of nights. Shabana Hearn will be joining us to look ahead to them. Adam Booth, boxing trainer, popping in to see us. And a little bit later on the show, we enter the world of golf. Golf podcaster and journalist Dan Davis joins us as Tiger returns to competitive play. And John Daly had to be picked out of a hole. We'll tell you more about that later on. We're here with our very good friends at Toolstation. Explore the full collection of garden power tools with top brands such as Karsha and Makita. Next stop, Toolstation.
Matt, the Tottenham fan, and Matt, what do you know, has called in. Matt, good afternoon. Where are you at after that home defeat to Forest, mate?
Well, guys, nice speaking to you.
Nice to speak to you, Matt.
It's not a great position to be in, to be honest. And thanks to Martin's team, the gloss, the pressure has been taken away. Because you guys are too busy, you media lot, are too busy battering a team that's 9 points clear, and you're looking for a downfall from that football club, yet you look down the road and you guys can't even have the decency within yourselves to actually start pointing fingers And all you want to do is blame manager after manager and that player and the other player, but you just can't bring it to yourselves to actually go, do you know what? It was that previous chairman, that parasite, which I'll never give him airtime to say his name because he's Simon's mate, who he can't even have the guts, because he's too busy protecting his mate, to have the guts to actually go, do you know what? Actually, it stemmed from him because they told him, do what you please within the margins. He then does what he wants.
Yeah, but Matt, here's the thing, mate. Daniel Levy wasn't playing on the pitch yesterday when you lost 3-0 to Nottingham Forest.
Jim, let me explain something to you, mate.
Yes.
Let me explain something to you. You got talkSPORT producers, yeah? They brought in Jim White.
A lot of reaction to Dr. Carl Matthews, the official tossmaster of the World Stone Skimming Championships. Could you do that feature again with Charlie potentially in the studio with you in future? No, definitely not.
Definitely not.
That would be a bad idea. It was almost like Carry On Stone Skimming says. That's your mind, Andy, the Villa fan. It's nothing to do with us. Can they not come up with a better name for the end game than that, says Matthew, the Spurs fan? No, probably not. And Simon in Liverpool says, I was listening, my mum walked in during that and hearing some of the terminology, was embarrassed and said, what the heck are you listening to?
Oh, no.
Look, we got no control over the titles that they call things in the sport. But thank you for Dr. Kyle. I want to get down. We must do a show from there, Andy.
I had a look on Google Earth. It's a bit of an obscure place.
It certainly is. Anyway, now it's time for this.
UEFA Women's Champions League quarter-final preview on talkSPORT with Disney+. Home of the UEFA Women's Champions League. Watch every match live, only on Disney+. 18+ subscription required.
Yes, some cracking quarter-finals in the Women's Champions League, and all domestic dust-up between two of the big dogs of English women's football, Arsenal and Chelsea, and that's with Disney+, of course. Shabana Hearn joins us now to look ahead to that. Hi, Shaban.
Good afternoon, Paul. Afternoon, Andy. How are you?
Yeah, we're not too bad, thank you. Andy is, I mean, we've been hearing Chelsea have got a whole bunch of injury issues. And they've not been completely at it at the moment. You're not massively optimistic tonight, Andy, are you, from a Chelsea point of view?
It's been quite a poor season, and it's kind of diminishing returns. You know, last year was all right. You know, it was a bit like Arne Slot taking over from Klopp. It was a bit like that. You know, Bompasta took over from Emma Hayes. Emma Hayes had a brilliant time. She won the league, didn't do that brilliantly in the Champions League. Now, this season, it's been, a bit like Liverpool, been going backwards.
Interesting. That seems, would you agree with that parallel, Shaban?
Yeah, actually, fair enough, Andy. That's a good way of putting it. Something's not right. Something is not right there, and it's not like she's not had the backing. She's inherited a very good team. serial winners, a great squads, and she's been given money to play with. That she won a title, another title, and then everything this season just seems to be a little bit off. I can't help but be fascinated by the WSL table, because if Arsenal win their 2 games in hand, then it looks like Chelsea will drop out of the Champions League places. So they'll be looking at the quarter-final tie against Arsenal, against their rivals, and going, we absolutely have to get by them, because there's a really good chance now, if Man City, who have won it at a canter, really, Man United, who are doing well, and Arsenal make up those games in hand with 6 points, we ain't going to be there next season, which is kind of unprecedented for Chelsea. I find it actually staggering. It's a strange time.
Would that probably cost Bonpastor a job, you think, Shaban?
She just signed a new contract, Paul.
Right.
She's just signed till 2030. But I would say, they would have to consider it. Not only if you're trying to measure it up to the likes of Emma Hayes, right? And she's Sonia Bonpastor is a serial winner when she was a player and as a manager. But something's not clicking at Chelsea, that's for sure. And I don't know if it's maybe one too many feathers have been ruffled. Paul Green, the general manager who'd been there for how long? He's now gone from the club.
That's your biggest problem. That is it. Yeah. It's the same as the men's team. It's exactly the same. The more they get involved, these people, the worse it will be. It's just a fact. They just haven't got it. They don't know what. In my opinion, I don't think they know what they're doing. So, it's not surprising to me that the women's team has started to go backwards.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because it's not like they've not got the talent. But I even look at Guru Wrighton, Andy. You'll know her well. I think she's a magic player. It's like she's not been existent really since this season. And I know she had a baby. Our partner had a baby, and personally things changed. But I saw her exit video last week. I was bawling my eyes out watching that. That was a heartbroken player. She was like one of the spine of that team. You look at Sam Kerr, Erin Cuthbert, who's still playing regularly, Millie Bright and Guru Wrighton. And they're just all of a sudden, they're not that partnership anymore. They've not got the spine of the team. Myra Ramirez, okay, she's been struggling with an injury.
That's a big miss for them.
Massive mess. Sam Kerr's a mess, of course, but they're stacked. They're a stacked squad with quality players. Alicia Thompson's unbelievable. You look at the back, Naomi Gurma, the record signing into the WSL. Sometimes she looks like she's a rabbit in the headlights. So when I look at this fixture tonight, and I'm Arsenal, I'm going, we've got the upper hand here. And when you look at the head-to-head in the WSL, Arsenal can do well in this fixture. They really turn it on against Chelsea. So it should be a tasty one.
Casual viewers of Arsenal, of women's football, may be surprised to hear that Chloe Kelly doesn't always get a start, but she seems to be getting more involved. She's very popular for people that maybe just pick up on the England games because of her exploits in big matches. But is she getting a bit more of a look in now at Arsenal?
Well, she was good on the weekend, wasn't she? She got herself a brace, which was important. They're stacked on that side, to be honest. I don't get it either, how what happened at Man City happened at Man City. But even with England, it's that similar player. She's the super sub who comes on and does her job. Is she happy with that? I would imagine she wants that little bit more. But, she's definitely well and truly offering herself up and I think doing the best that she can. She's a quality player. She's a match winner. She knows what she wants. She's determined. She's driven. So maybe the way that it works for Rennie Slegers to play her that way, is the way it's going to be. But no, I wouldn't be surprised if she gets in there for a start tonight because she was unbelievable at the weekend.
Excellent. Well, enjoy the game. Thanks very much,
Looking
Shaban.
forward to it. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
There's Shaban Ahern there from Weekend.
It's quality football. The Women's Champions League is very
the games are good, aren't they? You've got some very good sides left in it. Barcelona are still in it. Lyon are still in it, who are very good. So that was our look ahead to this evening's Women's Champions League fixture between Arsenal and Chelsea with Disney+.
UEFA Women's Champions League quarter-final preview on talkSPORT with Disney+. Home of the UEFA Women's Champions League. Watch every match live, only on Disney+. 18+ subscription required.
Big few weeks of heavyweight boxing, kicking off with Moses Satoma versus Jermaine Franklin live on talkSPORT this weekend. Adam Booth, boxing trainer, is going to pop in to preview that in a few moments' time.
Let's hear from Leo Rossinha following Saturday's 3-0 loss at Everton. Really poor performance from Chelsea at the weekend.
Yeah, it's been a tough week. These players, some of them, this isn't an excuse. This is a reality. For some of these players have played already the most games in a season they've played in their career. Up to this point. What I need to do and what I need to do better is make better decisions in terms of team selection, how we freshen the team up, how we rotate the team to make sure that we're competitive in these games. I think having the international break now has probably come at the perfect time for us to regather, restock, and also we have some clear weeks in the weeks to come where we can actually get on the training pitch for the first time and work with these players in what we want.
Right, accept the bit at the end, right? I think that's important.
Yeah,
on the
yeah,
training
fine,
pitch,
grand, yeah.
But I ain't having that, you know, it's more than some of these games these players have played and all that stuff. Come on, that's not what the Chelsea fans want to hear. We're talking about a level of performance here. The level of performance the last few games has been extremely poor. First thing you've got to say, and we've not done enough of it today, we've got to say brilliant Everton, brilliant Sunderland, all those kind of things. But we're looking at Chelsea at this moment in time. No, that performance at the weekend and those performances and the defeat against PSG hasn't got anything to do with players having too many games.
No, that's ridiculous. This is an excuse that I can hear. Honestly,
you can't feel tired.
Paris Saint-Germain has played the same amount of games. Look what they're doing. But you cannot compare Paris Saint-Germain and Chelsea because they are a different level. But when a manager tries to find that kind of excuses, I think he's putting finger in front of him and he's trying to hide himself.
We're told Spurs are still making up their minds on who's best to steer the club away from relegation. Harry Redknapp had thought Spurs could finish 5th or 6th this season.
But it's been another year of disaster. And people keep saying, well, I know they've got the injuries, but that squad on Sunday was good enough to have got a result.
Spurs are keen to give Igor Tudor space and time following the death of his father. Other options are ex-Monaco head coach Adi Hütter, former Spurs players Chris Hughton and Robbie Keane, although Keane wants a longer-term deal. And we're told Roberto De Zerbi's waiting to see if Spurs stay up. Now, one man who never got the chance to represent his country has told us Ben White deserves his second chance. Kevin Nolan says White's versatility as a player makes him a good option.
What he's got to do now is go and show Thomas that he can be part of a squad and a team for the World Cup.
Meanwhile, the fallout from the Tyne-Wear derby continues.
Anthony Gordon is a fantastic player, but he didn't turn up in the first game and he didn't pretty much turn up in the second game apart from the goals. So it's a big statement.
Sunderland legend Kevin Phillips after Newcastle's Anthony Gordon's comments about Sunderland not being very good. And former England coach Paul Farbrace thinks sticking with Brendan McCullum is the right call.
I actually admire Rob Key and the ECB for standing up and actually standing their ground. They genuinely believe they've got the right people.
The ECB are trying to tighten up what they felt was a loose culture around the England Test team following that disastrous Ashes. There's more at talkSPORT.com.
I remember sparring him when he was 15. To be fair, that's probably the hardest spars that I had.
I think he's the real deal, Atoma.
It's going to be an exciting ride watching this boy do his thing in the heavyweight division over the next few years.
Hailing from Chatham, Kent, England.
This kid is on fire right now. He's getting better and better.
The best chance of beating Usyk is Moses Atoma.
Moses Atoma!
I like Moses a lot. Moses reminds me of a young Mike Tyson.
Moses Atoma makes it look so easy.
a lot of people are basically just saying like, yeah, I'm gonna knock him out, and like, I probably would.
Well, we'll find out at the weekend. We're going to bring you that fight live on talkSPORT this Saturday. Moses Toma versus Jermaine Franklin. Our team on the night will include Adam Captrell, Spencer Oliver, John Rawling and heavyweight Dave Allen. So it's live on talkSPORT from 8 p.m, or you can watch on DAZN also. The latest edition of Talk Boxing with Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver, Paul Smith and Adam Booth goes live tonight at 8 p.m. over on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. The guys have just been recording it. And we're delighted to say boxing trainer Adam Booth has popped in to see us. Hi, Adam.
How you doing?
Was it a good chat? Did it all kick off with Simon?
With Simon, it's always fast paced. I went in there today with a deliberate mission to try and slow him down a little bit. He wasn't having it.
Is that what you're doing? Would you like to get him in the ring? Would you like to get him in for a bit of...
That's a bit harsh. No, you're being... No,
I don't mean you fight him. I meant just the idea that he might... No, that's not fair. But I mean, why not? A kind of Masters series. Simon, I think there's a few boxers who'd probably like to take him on.
I tell you what, you could probably contact Callum Allen and see if you can get Simon on Misfits. That would do good numbers.
That certainly would, yeah.
I'd train him for it.
Yeah. So, look, before we talk about that fight and some other heavyweight fights, let's talk about what you're up to at the moment. You got Josh Kelly you're working with, who's a current world champion. So, how's life with him at the moment? What are the plans for Josh?
Yeah, we're sitting on the embers of the celebration because the fight was at the end of January, and I think the next fight is imminent. We're hoping for a big unification fight, or if not, then a defence at the Stadium of Light. That's the kind of thing we're talking about.
Oh.
And I think this week the chips might fall.
Do you have to give all that? It's interesting you say that the embers of the win, because it's obviously you win a world title, you're very high. Do you have to kind of let all the hoopla die down before you start? You've got to kind of let him get out of his system and get hungry again to fight again.
Yeah, I mean, Josh has been a pro for 9 years. We've worked together for 9 years, and to reach this point was, immense for him.
Yeah.
So wanted to make sure that you allow yourself the time to be what you want to be and just indulge yourself. But obviously, he's a professional fighter with a lot of experience now, and he knows that it's nearly time to get back to the job again.
So you reckon soon we will find out?
Yeah, I'm hoping that this week we'll know which direction we're going.
And you've got David Adelaide you're working with as well, a heavyweight. So where are we at with him under your tutelage?
Well, he lost his last fight against Filip Hrgovic, who's ranked in the top 5 in all the governing bodies, but proved in that fight as a sort of relatively inexperienced heavyweight that he's got the minerals, he's got the ingredients and things to entertain and be successful. But it's now about converting potential to actual achievement. Had been having conversations over the weekend about him potentially fighting a very big British name, but we're just waiting for that. Again, I'm here to say that.
Yeah, you can't tell us anything.
No,
yeah.
I should have been here next week.
Well, it's a good time. It's a good time to be in contention because the heavyweight scene is good at the moment here,
especially in the UK.
Yeah.
It's never British boxing has never been as big as a business as it is at the moment, and the heavyweight division is bizarrely active. And what Queensberry have done in signing up all the guys that are going to make some phenomenal matchups has been unique.
You do feel though that if Joshua Fury doesn't happen, then somehow everybody will be let down. It's got to happen at some point. If it doesn't, it'll be a real shame.
I think it'll be less of a disappointment now than it would have been a few years ago. I think we've been spoilt with so many good big fights, and there's a lot of big heavyweight fights, and Moses Atama now coming up through the ranks, and all of these big heavyweight matchups happening. And Usyk, the fights that he's had with Tyson and with AJ, yes, there'll be a disappointment, but I think it would be more of a disappointment a few years ago. I don't think it will linger too long.
No, it's shades of Pacquiao Mayweather, isn't it? That we're going to finally see it, but probably 5 or 6 years too late. Really. Yeah. So what about this fight? We met Moses Toma, I think, just after the weigh-in. I think it was just his second fight, wasn't it? And he is a beast and a very intense guy.
Yeah, but an impressive talker, impressive.
And we've been watching his career since, and love watching him in action. But this seems to be a step up in class. How do you view this fight with Franklin?
I think Moses is a special talent. He's obviously a special talent. He's only 20 years old. He's got to number 1 in the world, having never taken a single shot in a competitive fight as a pro. I think Frank Warren has historically been a master at building young talented fighters up into big stars. He's done it with a number of names, and probably his most his glittering example is Ricky Hatton. I think he's going to do a Ricky Hatton job with Moses Atalma.
Wow.
Moses is a heavyweight and is a different fighter to Ricky, and pound for pound a harder puncher and a southpaw and a big fella. I like how he comes across. I like how he carries himself. He's got everything to be the champion that he wants to be. He's still at the stage of his career where he's not in 50-50 fights, and rightly so, because he's only had 12 pro fights. And his fight coming up isn't a 50-50 fight. It's against a heavyweight with a lot of experience of being in there with some very good heavyweights and Anthony Joshua on his comeback fight. But ultimately, Moses Atalma is a winner. He's not just a good young fighter and a good character. He's a winner, and that will always play out. But this fight is a good matchup to make for this stage of his career. But I don't see it being a 50-50 fight or anywhere near.
I mean, he is one of these guys. He's, as you said, he's been around the block, Franklin, and he's a sort of durable fighter. He might ask a few questions that other fighters haven't.
One of the questions will be getting him out of the second round.
Yeah.
I think that will be one of the questions he might get asked, but I'm pretty sure that Moses would have prepared for that in many sparring rounds. So I think Atalma comes across as the type of genuine fighter that wants genuine challenges, that's probably excited about getting out the second or third round to prove that he can knock people out later on. I'm just not sure how late this fight will go.
Right, yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you kind of sense he is a good boxer. We don't really see him box that much, do we? Because he gets people out there quite early.
Well, yeah, but he's not just throwing his shots. If you look, he sets them up. He's got great balance. He's really strong, but he's got strong mobile balance. He's very accurate, and he's got that southpaw style as well. And back in the day, before we had any video footage, there are matchmakers in boxing and it's their job to know about opponents and fighters to work for the promoter. And they would always ask two questions when there was no footage. Is he a southpaw and can he punch? If the answer was yes to one of those questions, you'd normally get a knockback and they're not interested in the fight. Here, you've got a southpaw that can punch and is young and fresh and a winner and clever. He's everyone's nightmare.
We've also got Chisora Wilder around the corner. You've got a bit of experience dealing with Derek during your time with David Hay.
Well, I got a bit of experience with Deontay because he was over in two separate training camps when he was a young pro, working with us as well. So I know them both really well.
I saw John Fury saying he thinks he's shot and Derek will win it easy, but Wilder's gone. I mean, what's your take on it?
As gone as Deontay Wilder may or may not be, he still has that power to put anyone to sleep. If he clenches his fist and throws it and lands it, he's got that power to put anyone to sleep. And it is the last thing you lose. And it's Derek's job to avoid getting detonated on, to keep working Deontay so that he can get on top of him. But it's a dangerous fight for Derek.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, do you think it is? I mean, they're both basically saying it's 50th fight for each of them. They're both more or less saying, we'll pack up after this. But I mean, do you
Derek's always saying that.
Do you think? But he always said he'd get to 50 and that would be it. Do you think he means it? Or
I do. Yeah, I do.
Really?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
It's and I see it as genuinely an even fight, because when it's at long range, Derek's under a lot of jeopardy because of how hard Deontay can hit. And if Deontay just decides to keep swinging it, that he could land. Yeah. And Derek's job is to try and get into Deontay to rough him up and expose his weakness.
Yeah. You wonder how good a fight he'll be because, Derek, I imagine Derek will get a hold of him and stop him landing those shots, won't he, really?
Boxing is theatre with blood, right? And what we want are evenly matched fighters, whether they are the most elite of the highest grade fighters or whether they're young scratch fighters where we got donkeys making a derby. We like to see evenly matched fights, and that's what you've got here. You've got an evenly matched fight of two big names in world boxing, two big characters, and it's going to be theatre with blood. It's not going to go to distance, I think that's for sure. So you're going to get the theatre with blood and with characters that we all know and love.
Wow, good stuff. Well, we look forward to that. We certainly look forward to Atoma Franklin this Saturday. You can catch that. You're a Palace fan as well, Adam, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. How are you feeling about life at the moment? I mean, there's kind of, I don't know, they've sort of picked up a little bit. Still in Europe.
I think the conference is the key thing. They're not probably going to.
It'd be a good sign off for Glasner, but I know a few Palace fans of my acquaintance have been a bit fed up with some of the things Glasner said and felt like it's sort of fizzling out a little bit.
Yeah, I think what we achieved last season and winning that FA Cup and having that phenomenally historic time, I think Glasner can be forgiven for, saying things that the fans didn't like and we didn't like, but He's subsequently come out and quantified them and said, I believe that it was true. And he's explained himself. The one that rankles me a bit more is Jean-Philippe Mateta. I think he's been an absolute disaster. I think he's the reason why we struggled for so many games. He's got the worst statistics. He's got no touch, no pace, no strength. And then he turned around and said that he wanted to move on.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, well, that's you. You can't play for Palace again. And he's been brought on as a substitute a couple of times. And if you listen to the Ultras, every time they take Strand Larsen off and put Mateta on, they keep singing Strand Larsen's song.
Yeah.
They're letting the club know how they feel.
They both
about
played
Mateta.
together last weekend.
They did.
Last week in the conference game, didn't they?
They did, yeah. But that's not necessarily a strategy that's going to serve us well in the Premier League.
No.
Yeah. I mean, that never works, is it? When a player says they want to go and they kind of half down tools until they don't get their move and they've got to go back again.
Not after the atrocious performances that he was putting in. He just was not delivering. And statistically, he was terrible. And at that stage, you think, right, well, keep my head down and let me just be the best I can and keep trying to act a bit like a prima donna. And there was talk about him going to AC Milan, I think, at one point. That rankled. But, we had a great season last season. We're sitting strong. We should be safe after a few more points this season and where we can just enjoy this run in the Europe.
Oh, I got Mike McGrath in the Telegraph reporting that Crystal Palace considering a shop move for Andoni Iraola. I mean, I don't think you'd be too
Iraola?
You wouldn't be too disappointed by that, would you?
I think it looks like he's going to go back to Spain.
Bilbao, yeah.
But I think a lot of no disrespect to Palace. But
aye. It's great. You're sitting next to...
No, I think a lot of the top clubs, would be interested in it.
It's not helping.
We know what we are. All you got to do is stand on the pitch and look at the state of the main stand and realise that we know what we are.
Palace are great, but
we're proud of it.
No, they're not a top six.
Yet.
Yeah, yet. That's it. Who knows? Good stuff.
Especially the way the league is now. Yeah, definitely.
You'll hear more from Adam alongside Simon Jordan, Spencer Oliver, Paul Smith, live tonight at 8 p.m. on the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel. And Moses Talma versus Jermaine Franklin live on talkSPORT this Saturday from 8 p.m. A little bit more news in from Alex Crook. Our chief football correspondent says Chelsea have no plans to sack Liam Rosenior, even if they do not qualify for the Champions League this season.
Yeah, that's what they're saying now. But when they lose the next 8 games, which they're going to, including Port Vale, they might have a different view.
Oh, yeah. True. I mean, talking about not pulling your punches. You're sitting next to the man.
The next game, they've got City at home. That is a minimum 4-0 to City. Are they still going to be saying the same thing?
The Chelsea hierarchy says Crookie are committed to giving Rosenior at least one full season in charge.
I wouldn't bother.
Okay.
And even if they do, that'll only last. So that'll be next season ruined as well. Well done.
Okay. Well, I've just cheered you up.
But they're never going to admit it's their fault. They're never going to admit they're wrong, and they're never going to admit they've made a mistake. So, yeah, we'll be stuck with him for another season, I suppose.
Adam, thank you.
Thank you. I enjoy this.
Adam Booth.
I agree.
We're going to chat about a new documentary about the late, great Johan Cruyff, 10 years today that he sadly passed away. It's a brilliant documentary, 4-parter, with incredible access to his life story. And Sam Blair, the director, popping in to see us next. We're here with Tool Station. Get your home spring ready with great deals on top paint brands like Dulux, Crown and Leyland. Next stop, Tool Station.
And here's an interesting one. We're going to start with Arsenal and Bukayo Saka, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I have said for weeks, I love Bukayo Saka.
Me too.
Right? I do.
Me too.
However, I think the form has dipped a little bit.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe.
Did you hear what Pierce was saying? He is tired. Tired of what? He's been injured so many times. You know, he had a proper preseason preparation, vacation. So I don't know what happened. Is it because of the new players came into the team that has been challenging?
Is he missing Odegaard a little bit?
Well, I'll tell you what I think it is. I just think it's a drop in form, right? I think it's
can happen.
It can happen.
Yeah, I just think I don't know whether it's a confidence.
What would
thing.
you do, Ali, if you're?
I'd have played Madueke.
Yeah, if you're manager, would you leave him out for a few games?
I maybe would.
Put the arm around him and say, look, you
super sub.
I maybe would, because I think you've got to pick the strongest team. We can argue about the goalkeeping position, but I think at this moment in time, now you two guys know far more about the Arsenal I'll ever know. I think Madueke deserves a starting position more than most in that particular position. I think, and I'll go even over the other side, I think Madueke will give you more on that side than perhaps Trossard. I don't know about Martinelli's another. I think he'd do a little bit more game time, certainly more than Saka. No?
I think another problem would be the skipper at the moment, isn't he? Odegaard's out. Can you leave your skipper out?
Paul Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on Talk Sport. Now, a new sports documentary series from the people that bought us F1 Drive to Survive, Diego Maradona and other fine work, is on Johan Cruyff. It's 10 years to the day that Johan Cruyff died. And they've got some quite incredible footage and access to people that knew him and worked with him to tell his story. It's a 4-part, hopefully coming to a TV screen near you soon. It's available in the Netherlands at the moment. Sam Blair is the director. Hi, Sam.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, at the moment, I think you're still working with the streamers over here, so we can't give the listeners the news of where they can watch it in the UK, but hopefully soon, yes?
That's the plan, yeah. It's just been released in the Netherlands. We've got film festival coming up, and the conversations have started around where it will be over here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say about his. I mean, look, he's much loved in the Netherlands, of course, but there were periods, and something you touch on in the series, but that wasn't the case, was it?
Oh, his whole life. You know, there's this push and pull with Cruyff in the Netherlands. They'd never had anyone like him. He was the best footballer they ever had, but he was also, they sort of talk about him like he's in the Beatles or something. He was like a completely new kind of figure, but they loved him, but there was so much conflict around him. It's kind of constant through his life where he sort of wound them up because I don't know, that they just weren't used to having anyone like that in their society. They're they're a small country. They're not used to being on the world stage. And yeah, he was absolutely that. He was, there's a point where he's one of the most famous people in the world. And And with Cruyff, part of what's really fun about him and fascinating to make a film about is that he just spoke his mind in a way that shocked people. I think they weren't used to someone who was so forthright, so convinced that he, particularly with football, that he had a way of playing, a way of seeing the game that he just wanted everyone to listen and to pay attention because he felt he had the kind of answer.
Yeah.
And that created all sorts of problems.
A revolutionary figure and so influential, isn't he? His influence is still being felt. And you spoke to probably the main person he influenced was Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he was ahead of his time. I think he could still play now. There's not many players from the 60s and 70s. Maybe you could say that about. And now we play. Everyone really plays Cruyff football, and that's Pep's the sort of the number one example of that. Pep really just learned everything from Cruyff. Pep was actually sort of playing in the Barcelona B team when Cruyff arrived as coach at Barcelona and found him there and made him the centre of the dream team, the Barcelona dream team that won all those league titles in Spain, won the European Cup, Champions League. And Pep just took it all in and then made it his own.
We're going to play a little clip of the documentary, and it's a very emotional Pep Guardiola talking about Cruyff. You'll be able to see this if you're on Connect TV, and I think you can hear the emotion come across in his voice if you're just listening on the radio. But this is Pep talking, and you see some footage of the guys playing golf together, one of the final trips he took to Barcelona to see his mentor.
He had a tumor already in the brain. I remember we were walking, playing golf in Montaña, and his wife behind crying. Before putting, I said, wow, I see double. Then I have to close one eye to hit the ball. And in the moment, I had the feeling that is the last time to say bye. Alone, walking, talking. I miss him so much.
You've got access, Sam, to some amazing footage, haven't you? Because the family are on board with this. So that must have made a huge difference to what you wanted to make.
Yeah, that when you make documentaries, that's kind of central to it, is getting that access not only to their family footage, but the kind of people who are willing to speak. Once they know the family are on board with it, the doors just opened, and people that never really speak were willing to come on camera. Like someone like Frank Rijkaard, who barely does any press these days. He came on camera, and Marco van Basten, Dennis Bergkamp. I was really surprised. He's so open and excited to talk about Cruyff. So yeah, we've got it's amazing material, absolutely incredible. The archive, back then, particularly the 60s. People didn't see football internationally. You didn't see what was going on in the Dutch league. It wasn't on YouTube or whatever. So you sort of get this insight into the emergence of who's one of the most important footballers there's ever been. And I think a lot of people are familiar with the footage of him at the '74 World Cup, but they've maybe not seen him playing for Ajax in the 60s, 70s, and then into the 80s when he returned to Ajax as a player. It's mind-blowing. He's in his 30s. No one could believe he was back, and it's just incredible. And so that the archive's a real treat through the series.
I saw him right at the end of his career playing for Feyenoord against Spurs and against Glenn Hoddle, which was we were well on top, and he wasn't quite the player he was. And apparently after the game went up to Hoddle and said, I'd heard about you, but I didn't know how good you was, and asked for his shirt, which Hoddle says is one of the greatest accolades he ever had.
Yeah, he loved Hoddle as a player. I read that. I think he appreciated those players with that intelligence as well as the technique. That's a big thing with Cruyff is this thing of thinking about the game. It's one of these things that we hear about, but he was one of the first to sort of try and explain to people a different way of thinking about football. And that, that's just part of the story we tell, is that for a long time, people kind of could think he was a bit nuts because he's saying stuff that didn't make a lot of sense, And now, obviously, in the end, he sort of proved right. These ideas that he was trying to get people to understand are pretty much the norm now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing it over here, and good to talk to you. Thanks very much, Sam.
Cheers.
Here we are.
That sounds very good, doesn't it?
Yeah, as the director of Johan Cruyff, the new documentary.
I've noticed there are two types of documentary, this sort of, where the people involved actually knew the subject, or it's some bloke from TV Mag with big glasses on Channel 5. And they've only seen the
Well, they
footage.
showed the same still about 8 times. Then they pan in on the still, they pan out on the
And that bit of footage showed you 3 minutes
This
ago.
is clearly not that, and the
No,
pedigree of the other work they've done will prove that. So I think we all look forward to seeing it, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people queuing up, UK streamers, to make sure we get to see it soon. It's Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Steve Blacknell was a big name back in the 80s. He stepped out with Kate Bush before she was famous. He was on the plane with Phil Collins on his way to Live Aid in Philadelphia. He's had quite the life. He's also a Burnley fan and loves cricket, which is why we're getting him on talkSPORT
That's
today.
good.
Joining us in the next hour.
Just into us here at talkSPORT. Harvey Barnes, we know, is in Thomas Tuchel's England squad. In the last few moments, also called up, Arsenal's Ben White has been called back into the England squad, and he is included in this squad by Thomas Tuchel. Ben White's last involvement with England, as we know, was back at the World Cup in 2022. And on that occasion, Martin, Simon, you'll recall, he left camp early after a reported fallout between him and whoever else. But Ben White gets his chance. Featured yesterday, of course, at Wembley, and he's been called up by Thomas Tuchel. Guys, what do you think of that?
Yeah, it was interesting when Harvey Barnes was almost going to commit to play for Scotland. I believe, Jim, you'll know more about that. Ben White fell out, I believe, with Steve Holland. Well-known argument that they had where I think he was being accused of not taking enough interest when he wasn't in the team. So, he's a good player. So I expect to see him when there's a problem. It's good to see that he's back involved again.
Yeah. Some people had the view at the time, Simon, if you turn your back on your country, that should be it for you.
I think I was in that camp. I think I was in the camp of we can't all be told what we want to hear. We have to sometimes accept people have different views, and you have to, when you're playing for your country, it's an honour, it's a privilege. It's one of those...
talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van range, supporting van owners to get the job done. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
I'm Ben Fletcher. Good afternoon. With all the talk of who could keep Tottenham in the Premier League this season, does former midfielder turned coach Gus Poyet back himself?
I can't say no, and I have to trust my ability. I got no doubt. But listen, I like when the clubs, they support the coach. I like it. What Simon said about in 2 years' time we're going to win the league with these players. Yeah. Okay, pick the coach, go with the coach.
Poyet says Spurs need to go back to basics on the field. The situation surrounding Igor Tudor's future is a highly sensitive one following the death of his father. talkSPORT's Simon Jordan says the club shouldn't be afraid to sack him, but warns them to tread very carefully.
Whilst the timing is not ideal and the circumstances are not great, it was a decision that we were going to make anyway, and you can handle that, and you handle that properly by doing it from principle to principle.
To the west of the capital, where we're told not to expect any managerial changes anytime soon. talkSPORT understands Chelsea have no plans to sack Liam Rosenior, even if he fails to secure a Champions League place. The Blues hierarchy are believed to be committed to giving Rosenior at least one full season in charge before they conduct any formal performance review. The Football Supporters Association has filed an official complaint with FIFA over what they call excessive ticket prices at the World Cup. They're asking for the dynamic pricing model to be dropped. In the meantime, would you pay 135 quid for a replica England shirt? Supporters Travel Club member Nick Jones has done. He says, considering inflation, £90 for Nike's stadium version isn't unreasonable.
I don't think we should be surprised, but I do recognise there is a lot of money for some people, and that's why they're turning to the likes of DH Gates and places overseas which are doing those knockoff versions.
Scotland and Wales's Adidas kits will set you back £120 a piece. And remember, you can hear England versus Uruguay live on talkSPORT on Friday night.
talkSPORT News.
The Chancellor's hinted that any help with energy bills will be targeted rather than universal, and a man who strangled a mum of two after an argument has been found guilty of manslaughter. There's more from the news team at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With over 400 EV-ready centres across the UK, we're top of the league for electric car owners. Visit quickfit.com and book today.
A band of rain moving south-eastwards this afternoon, colder conditions coming in behind.
Paddy's Pick on talkSPORT with Paddy Power. Can you guess who's made the headlines this week? 18 plus, be gamble aware, don't all.
Yes, time once again for Paddy's Pick, in association with our official betting partner, Paddy Power. In Paddy's Pick, I'll ask Andy to identify a mystery sports personality who's Paddy's Pick of the week. Andy, you'll get 5 clues to work out who it is. We'll start with £50 in the pot. For every clue we use without a correct answer, we'll have to take £10 away, unfortunately. But Paddy's Pick is all for charity, so hopefully we want to make as much as we can.
Absolutely.
And we're raising funds for the Shen UK. So if you are ready, Andy,
I am.
Let's play Paddy's Pick. Okay, let's have a look. Yes. Okay, well, think about some of the events that have gone on over the last few days. Maybe you're well away from the world of football.
Right.
This week's pick is a record-setting medal winner.
Oh, yes. Is it Keely Hodgkinson?
Oh, it is. What about that? Becky on the deck said you'd get it. And it didn't take you any time at all, did it?
No, not at all.
You were watching the athletics, so...
I love Keely. And I remember I did a show with Danny Kelly, and he was going on. He loves athletics, and he loved her. He said she's most underappreciated.
She's on fire
right.
at the
She's
moment,
brilliant.
isn't she?
Absolutely brilliant.
Well, let me tell you some other facts about her. Not that I need to, but I will. She attended Fred Longworth High School in Tyldesley, where she was friends with fellow pupil and future England footballer Ella Toone.
Oh, right.
Would you have known that?
No.
So, okay, so it was she joined Lee Harriers, probably at that point you might have done. At the age of 9, won cross-country championships in 800, 1200, 1500 and cross-country races. Vienna 2021, she became the first British woman to set a world under-20 record since Zola Budd. And as an Olympian 800-metre specialist, she won silver at Tokyo 2020, gold Paris 2024. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's brilliant.
Keely Hodgkinson, she's Paddy's Pick of the week for setting a new gold medal winning championship record in the women's 800 metres at the World Athletics Indoor Championship.
Beautiful.
50 quid for Deshen UK.
Lovely.
Well done,
That's
Andy.
great. Good.
Thanks to our friends at Paddy Power. Official H&J betting partner. 18 plus. BeGambleAware.org.
Paddy's Pick on talkSPORT with Paddy Power. Can you guess who's made the headlines this week? 18 plus, be gamble aware, don't all.
I mentioned earlier on that when I left the producer last night, I'm sure he said to me he was off for choir practice, when in fact he said he was off to the chiropractor. I actually would have preferred it if he was off for choir practice. It would have been a better story, really. And you've been telling us a bit of mishearing. And one or two of these is going to be difficult to shake off when you next hear them. Andrew in Basingstoke says, I've always called the Champions League anthem the lasagna song, because the last line, the champions, to my poor hearing, just sounds like lasagna. So next time you hear that,
it does go.
Expect to hear, expect to imagine that. Anything else you want to talk about, Andy?
Yeah, it's got a couple of letters, and you can give me a couple off my list as well.
Okay.
I had the fact that the Star never correct anything. So you write into the Star, they just print it as you send it.
They're not like the Guardian. They're not that section with the corrections. No.
This one is from MJB, who wrote in. He said, talk about moonlighting. Matt Chapman and Micah Richards work on the Beebs match of the day, then end up presenting ITV coverage of the Carabao Cup. Matt Chapman. I think you mean Mark Chapman, mate.
Yeah. Matt Chapman's MC Yeehaw.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
Racing,
oh, yes, that reminds me. I did one of my roundups last night.
Oh, yeah. So what happens is, during the international break, where Andy would normally sit down and watch a game of live football, some live sport, when there's not a lot on, what do you have a sort of trawl around the channel?
It was 9 o'clock. I thought, Sue was having a little sleep. I thought, well, what shall I do? I'll go and watch a bit of see what's on the sporting channels.
Okay. So talk us through.
So we started off with the ATP Miami Open. The weather was nice.
Yeah, it would.
Next.
It's on there. It's on now,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
Then it was followed by the Premier League review. No thanks, not after that weekend.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been one. Would have put my foot through the tank. Sex Pistols on Bill Grundy, that would have been for me.
Then it was Scottish Prem Roundup, which was, it is a fascinating race. Incredibly dodgy pitch at Dundee, I know. It's a really old school.
Dundee or Dundee United?
Ooh,
which one?
That's a good
Be
question.
careful.
Ooh.
Was it the Celtic game?
Yeah, the Celtic.
Dundee United.
Dundee United, sorry. Anybody, if you're listening up there.
Yeah. The blue half.
Blue half, sorry. Then it was the Baller League live, and I was thinking...
The Baller League.
Baller League.
Yeah.
I was thinking, didn't we just have the final 5 minutes ago? I'm sure we did, didn't we? It's like the National Hunt season.
A bit of Graham Padding going on at the moment, isn't it? Yeah.
And it all got a bit WWE when I watched it. It was sort of quite lively. Then it was IPL 2025, just what we need when we're about to watch 6 weeks of it. Thanks very much.
Let's get the best bits from last year.
Yeah.
It goes on for about 6 months now, the IPL. It's
about 6 to 8 weeks.
It does fit. I mean, it wasn't like that at first, was it? You do get kind of beaten around the head with IPL.
The trouble is, it
is good quality.
It is. The quality's fantastic.
Yeah.
Then followed by Final Cut, the behind the scenes of the Golf's Legends Tour.
Yeah.
Touch dry for me, that one.
Alan Parchment as the host.
Yeah. The F1 sprint race from China. I must say, I haven't really. It is better. You get so much more overtaking with this new system.
You like it?
Well,
you're a convert.
I don't know anything about it, but my friend who knows a lot about Formula One tells me that it's very good, and that confirmed it.
Okay, good. Something good came out of this then.
Oh, yeah. Sky Sports News were doing the Ben White story. I thought, well, I know all about that.
Yep.
Then it turned out to something called Ultimate Pool. I thought, well, this might be cool. I wonder what Ultimate Pool is.
Yeah.
But it was a story about cycling and Herne Hill with Reshmin interviewing Chris Boardman. I thought there was a bit,
Okay.
There wasn't a lot of ultimate
there was no
going
pool
on.
there.
I don't know what
It
happened.
doesn't sound like what they said it was married up with what was
No.
actually on. Right.
NBA, Thunder versus Lakers. Quite exciting. Watched a little bit
Good
of that.
game,
It was
yeah.
Quite good, yeah. LeBron James missed 2 free throws at a classic, crucial point, which is very unusual. Then happened upon snooker from Shanghai. It must have been the final that Ronnie played recently.
Yeah.
And it was just like a very, very long bit of safety play. The balls were all in the wrong position.
Yeah.
I thought, blimey, this is quite dry, isn't it?
Peter Ebdon enjoyed
But
it.
then I had to watch it and see how Ronnie, of course, got out of it and won the frame, which was
Was this
brilliant.
against Step Chaya, the Thai lad? Was it, who won the final? Yeah.
That's right. And then
In the underpants, he washed in the sink, of course,
Oh, yeah,
as we
of
now
course,
know.
yeah.
He was the guy
I couldn't tell from watching
who
that.
hadn't brought enough underpants. He didn't think he'd get the
He
final.
did. He did like squirming in his
Well,
chair a bit.
It's still a bit damp. He's probably got a chill today.
Then finally, racing with Mark Chapman.
Oh yeah, Mark Chappers.
Chappers,
Yeah.
interviewing the winning trainer at the All Weather. I seemed quite excited about everything. That was it.
Well, at least
So
it was
there we
on in
go.
the all weather.
Yes,
the thing that
that's
always
true.
gets us is when they call the all weather off.
It's very true.
They've got to rename it, haven't they?
Yeah, so there we go. So it was sort of worth it, wasn't it? I do enjoy it, and it did fill an hour, so fair enough.
Wow. So that's good. And then Sue woke up.
She woke up.
You had to go back to an old casualty, did you?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Isn't there a new medical drama on now? Is it called The Pit?
Oh, I
It's a
don't
new
know.
one.
I don't know that one.
One of the lads from ER.
Oh, I better write that
He's
one
in it.
down.
Write this
Yeah.
down for the gaffer. And his wife is obsessed with medical dramas. She's virtually a qualified doctor. She's watched that many medical dramas.
My son recently went to, when we were at Cheltenham, he stayed the night with her, and he said he was on the Chelsea PSG game, and he said to me, "I've just missed Chelsea's equaliser because Mum wanted me to put on St Dennis Medical." So
who's Dennis Medical?
I don't know.
It's not someone you've signed from Strasbourg.
Yeah, tremendous player.
Yeah,
we're not getting rid of him, whatever happens.
Well, Dan Davis is going to join us a little bit later on, old colleague of mine from the Gold Days, but he's a golf writer and podcaster these days. And Tiger's back in action tonight. It's the first competitive game for over a year.
I quite like it. I've never really watched. I've only ever seen it on Sky News. That indoor golf. It does look quite exciting in the way they do it. He's good.
And I think he's of an age. John Daly had a fall. He was trying to play a shot, and I think he was sober. He was trying to play a shot, and he sort of toppled down the bank. So we may touch on that with Dan. And he's set up his own golf tournament in his back garden.
Who, Dan?
Yeah.
Oh, not John Daly.
No, not John Daly.
Okay.
So he will tell us about that, and he's a Liverpool fan, so we may touch on Liverpool's issues. And Robert Earnshaw is going to join us, former Wales striker. Look ahead to Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina on Thursday, the big playoff game. But there's a real bizarre backdrop to this, as Fletcher's been touching it in the bulletin, involving Steve Cooper, the former Forest manager, now at Bromby, and one of the Bosnia players, which has all got very daft. Anyway, we'll touch on that and start building up to the game with Ernie a little bit later on. And at 4, of course, Andy Goldstein, Darren Bentwood Drive. But before that, Steve Blacknell joins us. He was a VJ on MTV all those years ago, a huge star globally. And he's got quite the story. And he's also a big Burnley fan. So we'll be touching on that and chatting about his memoir, Tales from the Bedroom Wall. And that's all coming up shortly. We're here with Toolstation. Don't forget their toolbox essentials this spring with big savings on screws and fixings. Next stop, Toolstation.
Hello, Barry. Good morning.
Okay?
Yeah. Go for it, Baz.
I just want to say, every Monday mid-morning, we have to listen to Martin going on and on and on. It just becomes too much, and it's making me want Man City to win because he's just moaning all the time.
Don't put it on me, fella. Don't put it on me, Barry. So all those times when we denied you winning those 3 Premier Leagues back in the day with Ferguson, was that got something to do with it? Yeah, the fact that Man United players, the former players, have all got it against Arsenal. You Man United fans. If you could pick a team without me involved, don't involve me. Just say which is the team you despise the most in the Premier League. Come on, who is it?
We saw what a coward you were when
it's got that big now.
When you were managing,
it's got that big now that you even want your local rivals to win ahead of us. Well done to you. Well done. Look what happened to our local rivals.
To be honest, our main rivals.
Spurs. Start having your own things to go after as a football club. Don't just bash us. When was the day? When was the day Man United wanted to be champions? Will we see that again soon?
What's your results? Yeah, you will see that again, Mark.
Well, because you've got one game a week at the moment, haven't you? It's easy for you, isn't it?
Barry, the floor is yours. Yeah. Finish your call off for me. On you go.
Hey, what score were Man U Arsenal last time we met?
Well, the thing is, let's just put it this way. So we've played 50 games. You're going to play 40 games maximum this season, yeah? Because that's at the moment. What have you? You've got 7 games. You play 33 matches. So you're fresh. When you beat us, you're fresh. You beat Man City as well.
Trophies lately, Man United or Arsenal.
Good afternoon, it is Paul Hawksbee and Andy Jacobs here on Talk Sport. And kick-off tonight, Hugh Woozencroft and Scott Minto after Andy and Benty would drive with the sports bar back with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy at 10. But our next guest has had quite the life and he's documented it all in his new book, Tales from the Bedroom Wall, The Life and Times of a Serial Thrill Seeker. Kate Bush was his girlfriend. The Man with a Child in His Eyes is almost certainly written about him. That's not a bad claim to fame. He was a huge star in the UK and the US in 80s and 90s as a VJ on MTV in its pomp. He made a lot of money, he lost a lot of money, and he supports Burnley. So there's a little pocket bio.
What a life.
Yeah. And he likes cricket. Steve Blacknell joins us. Hello, Steve.
Good afternoon, gents. Yeah, did I lose it? Yeah, Burnley have lost it as well as you, as you rightly say. Yeah,
it is quite the story, Steve, isn't it? Really. I mean, when you sat down to write it, did you think, "Blimey, I'd have forgotten"? Was it all there, or had you forgotten some of this stuff?
Well, it was mostly written somewhat off me nuts about 20 years ago, right. In the back of cabs and things, and all these piles of paper kept piling up there. And I met a publisher a while ago, and they said, "Well, this is too good. You've got to do it." So we've done it, and it's selling well. And there's even little murmurs about a movie, but it's far too soon for that nonsense. Yeah. I'm very, very, very happy it's out there, and it's very warming. It's lovely.
There's a lovely story, that lovely story about Kate Bush where she didn't want you to look at her while she sang these songs, and you'd never heard her sing before. And so she said, "You've got to turn round. You can't look at me while."
It's like The Voice.
I mean, it's like it was a precursor to The Voice. If you'd written that down, Steve, you could have sold the format. But you went on to the star that she became. That's amazing.
Well, yeah, it was young love, and I knew she sang a bit. But, when you're in the kitchen in the family and you hear words like David Gilmour bandied about and Marcel Marceau, the mime artist, you're thinking, ooh, So basically, I mean, that can't be her, that can't be Kate. And it was one day when she said, sit down, turn around, and I saw her hands, for those of you who can see me on YouTube, you saw the hands descending onto the keys. Then this angel, like a voice from heaven, sang 3 songs. And as she said, turn around, I saw her hands lifting up from the keys. And I said, well, that wasn't you, surely. She said, yeah. And I thought, oh, my God, I'm in love with a genius.
Yeah.
And it was ludicrous, and world domination just seemed to step away that day in Kent,
One
ridiculous.
of the other things people remember is on Live Aid, you got on the plane to New York and then the helicopter to Philadelphia with Phil Collins when he did that transatlantic trip. He did a gig in London, then did a gig in the States.
Yeah, that was great. I mean, my favourite, and there's a quote in the book. It's not the best quote in the book. I think it's my favourite quote of all time. I rang my mother up the day before trying to impress her, and I said, you know, Bill Collins, the one I like. I said, that's the one you like, the bald man. Well, I'm going on Concorde, the one with the big nose, nearly as big as mine. So, and I said, we're going to New York. We're going on a helicopter to Philadelphia. There was a short break, and she said, how are you off for underwear? And it was like I literally came out of the clouds, and that was my feet were on the ground for the entire episode after that.
Yeah. You openly admit in the book that maybe there's some things you didn't cope massively well with, the sort of fame and fortune side of it.
Well, I never really had the fame. I was sort of B-, could do better next term. Jonathan Ross, when Jonathan came up, his first ever quote was, I don't know what I want to be, but I don't want to be another Steve Blacknell. And the point of it was, Jonathan was wearing the suits and being cute, and I looked like an offshoot of Dusty Springfield with all the makeup on telly. So he was destined, but I never got to that sort of A-list fame, you know.
No. But you were on telly a lot. I mean, you did a lot of different stuff. You did good music shows with good bands and stuff. And in the States, you were a very recognisable face, weren't you? You did lots of telly. You interviewed Bob Hope, for goodness sake.
Yeah, I know. Well, what I did, I went over to the States, to Hollywood, and I was the Hollywood anchor for BSB, not B Sky B. And so I had a day with Dudley Moore, and then I had drinks with Bob Hope, and it was like, well, I'm from Dartford. What the heck am I doing here? It was really very odd. But the TV channel went down, and I foolishly stayed to be an actor. I didn't take my class. I was in all the big agencies. They all thought I'd be the next Robin Williams or Jan Cleese. And but I didn't listen, and I failed miserably and came home totally broke.
Wow.
Forward by Bill Wyman. And
we've played cricket with Bill, haven't we?
Yeah, I played cricket he was 66. He carried his bat the whole innings, 37 not out, and then he fielded at slip. He was on the pitch the whole game for both innings, just smoking a fan. I think he took a catch.
David English always used to say he would mark out his run-up with fag ash. I don't know if that was true.
That's correct. Oh, you knew David, did you? Yeah, I knew David. Well, I played in the Bunbury's team a couple of times with Clapton and Bill and of course the remnants of David English, a very silly man, much missed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if you're from Dartford, why do you support Burnley?
Yeah,
Steve?
good point.
Very good idea. Okay, 1961-2, Spurs had won the FA Cup 61, and Burnley and Spurs were in the 62 final. And I remember Danny Blanchflower, as in pass the hot milk, please, sending Adam Blacklaw the wrong way in a penalty in their 3-1 win. And I'd followed Burnley. Jimmy McElroy was my hero. I'd followed them for years. So you cut to 1965 and West Ham, I think they won the Fairs Cup, I think it was 65. And because claret and blue was running in my veins, I quickly switched to West Ham, and then of course West Ham won the World Cup in 1966.
Of course
and I've been cursed with Burnley ever since, and I'm afraid it's not very good. I think you gents would know more than I. They're called the Clarets now, but I'm sure they used to be called the Tufties, as in Turf Moor. But I think they're called the Clarets now.
The Tufties. I'm sure the old Burnley fans.
Yeah, the Burnley fans would know that.
Turf Moor, the Bob Lord days. Going back, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, very different sorts of ownership you used to get in the world of football then, wasn't it? With Bob Lord. Bob Lord is a long way probably from the people who own Chelsea now, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, perhaps I shouldn't say this, but I've gone off football. I mean, I love my rugby, but like a level, I think, of 20-30%, call it what you will, of foreign players, because what chance young players, if you want to play for Man City, I mean, what chance?
I found something called Turfites Talk, so maybe that was a different, So that was an old forum. Well, look, to say we've only scratched the surface is doing it an injustice. So go and read Steve's story. It's called Tales from the Bedroom Wall, The Life and Times of a Serial thrill seeker. Where can people find it,
You
Steve?
can find it in a junk shop in Dartford. Well, probably, but no, on Amazon there's the audio and the hardback and all that stuff. So, and it's something like lukewarm cakes. It's, but no, it's going very, very well.
Good stuff. Steve Blacknell, NELL.com, all the details. Cheers, Steve. Thank you. All the best.
Bless you guys. Thank you.
Steve Blacknell there. We're going to talk
like lukewarm cakes. That's funny.
We're going to talk a bit of golf next with the Tiger returning to competitive action for the first time in over a year. And, poor old John Daly being dragged up the side of a bank after he fell over. Anyway, we'll touch on that. And Rob Earnshaw joins us to look ahead to one of the big playoffs this week, Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina, on Thursday.
If you cast your mind back to the Antonio Conte days, you may remember one press conference in particular, which has gone down in Spurs history. Last week marked 3 years since this iconic rant. Let's have a listen again.
They don't want to play under pressure. They don't want to play under stress. Yeah, it's easy in this way. And Tottenham story is this. 20 years that there is the owner and never won something. But why? Only for the fault is only for the club or for every manager that stay here. And I have seen the manager that Tottenham had on the bench. You risk to disrupt the figure of the manager and to protect the other situation in every moment. And now, until now, I try to hide the situation, but now no, because I repeat, I don't want to see what I have seen today, because this is unacceptable. Also for the respect for the fans. They follow us, pay the tickets, and to see the team another time, to have this type of performance, for me, I repeat, this is unacceptable.
Wow.
Hey.
He lost the plot there, didn't he? I didn't hear no press. They were loving it, weren't they, the press?
Go and hide.
Do you know that was after, Ali? I've been told that was after 3-3 draw at Southampton. And if they'd won that game, they would have gone into third place.
Joking.
Third place. So that's amazing, isn't it? 3 years ago.
That was 3 years ago.
We're told Spurs are still making up their minds on who's best to steer the club away from relegation. Harry Redknapp had thought Spurs could finish 5th or 6th this season.
But it's been another year of disaster. And people keep saying, well, I know they've got the injuries, but that squad on Sunday was good enough to have got a result.
Spurs are keen to give Igor Tudor space and time following the death of his father. Other options are ex-Monaco head coach Adi Hütter, former Spurs players Chris Hughton and Robbie Keane, although Keane wants a longer-term deal. And we're told Roberto De Zerbi's waiting to see if Spurs stay up. Now, one man who never got the chance to represent his country has told us Ben White deserves his second chance. Kevin Nolan says White's versatility as a player makes him a good option.
What he's got to do now is go and show Thomas that he can be part of a squad and a team for the World Cup.
Meanwhile, the fallout from the Tyne-Wear derby continues.
Anthony Gordon is a fantastic player, but he didn't turn up in the first game and he didn't pretty much turn up in the second game apart from the goals. So it's a big statement.
Sunderland legend Kevin Phillips after Newcastle's Anthony Gordon's comments about Sunderland not being very good. And former England coach Paul Farbrace thinks sticking with Brendan McCullum is the right call.
I actually admire Rob Key and the ECB for standing up and actually standing their ground. They genuinely believe they've got the right people.
The ECB are trying to tighten up what they felt was a loose culture around the England Test team following that disastrous Ashes. There's more at talkSPORT.com.
Yes, Paul Hawksbee, Andy Jacobs here on talkSPORT. Andy Goldstein and Darren Bain up at 4 with Drive. But the Tiger is back after 13 months. He'll play his first competitive golf this evening. He's had a bunch of operations in the last couple of years, and he had an operation on the disc in his back in October. But, you know,
not a lot of walking with that indoor golf, though.
No, that's true. Still a draw, though, isn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, let's chat now to a golf writer and podcaster and Liverpool fan and a man with a golf course in his garden.
Wow.
And he'll explain more later. Dan Davis. Hello, Dan.
Hello, Paul. How are you? Hello, Andy.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah, good to see you again. So, yeah, you pleased to see Tiger back? I mean, we all know, of course, he wasn't the force he once was, but he's still box office, isn't he?
He is box office, without a doubt. And obviously, all the speculation will be now whether he is fit enough to play at the Masters. Obviously, he's got 5 green jackets, youngest ever winner, last won it in 2019. Anytime Tiger tees it up on Augusta, he's going to be the main story. But as Andy said, there's a big difference between playing indoors in the SoFi Dome, you know, on a simulator, than there is playing 4 rounds on one of the hilliest golf courses they play all year, especially somebody who's had 13 operations on his back, knee and ankle.
Yeah. He always seems to start off down with the best of intentions, but by sort of, if he makes the weekend, he physically looks like he's an absolute bits, doesn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he really does. I mean, he played, I think the last time he played was 2024 at the Masters, and he finished tied 60th. In 2023, he set the record for the most consecutive cuts made, but didn't finish the tournament. I mean, I think that was a sort of Herculean effort to make the cut then. I mean, you know, he played in 2022, which was, you know, a little over a year after a massive car crash that, you know, he almost lost his right leg in. So it's pretty extraordinary he's playing golf at all. But, you know, I think that, you know, there was a good piece on the talkSPORT website, actually, an opinion piece that said at his press conference, he will say, of course I can win. You know, I'll only tee up if I think I can win. But whether that rings true or not is another matter.
Probably not. But
he's not, because he always, again, quite tantalising. He said it's not off the table, was his quote, whether he would compete at the Masters at the start.
I think he wants to. That's the thing.
He says, I've been working on it. Sometimes I have good days, sometimes I have bad days. Disc replacement, not a lot of fun. I mean, look, he might try. I mean, what's your gut feeling, Dan?
Well, my gut feeling is if he's fit and he feels he can do it, he will do it. Because he's still, despite all the injuries and all the surgeries and all the setbacks and things that have happened in his life, he's still the ultimate competitor and the ultimate warrior. And he will want to play, especially if he thinks he can extend that consecutive main cuts record, because he's driven by records. He's not going to get to Jack Nicklaus's 18 majors, but in any way, shape or form, if Woods can set another record, that will be a big motivating force to him. So I think if he feels he can do it, he'll do it. But it's a long way between not playing competitively since July 2024 and playing one round of indoor golf.
Yes.
It's interesting that he keeps going, isn't it? I mean, he probably,
I think he loves it, doesn't he?
I think that's going to be the only reason, because he certainly doesn't need the money, and there are other things that he could do if he wanted to in and around the game, but he clearly still feels he can compete and wants to do it.
Well, yeah, exactly. I think that just comes back to that amazing competitive desire that he has, and that's what's enabled him to have the career he's had. But yeah, I think the expectation of him being able to mount a charge or be in the business end of the tournament, or even playing, really, for that matter. If he plays, I think it would be pretty remarkable, considering it's very unlikely he will play before Augusta as any sort of tune-up. So, the other thing is with Tiger, he keeps everything's quite private and quite on the down low. So who knows what his rehab from this latest surgery in October last year has been like.
Now, John Daly, who I'm surprised is only 59. Because life has made him look a lot older.
Yes, he's lived a life, that's for sure.
He was playing in a Champions event in Arizona and had a kind of quite an odd lie on a sort of dip in a kind of crevice, and played the shot, but then lost his balance. We're showing it to people on Connect TV now. Toppled back and went sort of charging down this slope, didn't he?
Well, it's a bad combination, isn't it? Very dry, loose ground, a very steep gradient, a big unit.
Yeah.
and that equals maximum velocity. And as you're showing on the clip, he actually goes down face down. I mean, I'd say it's probably a 1 in 3 slope. And then the caddy goes after him, brandishing a club like a sword, maybe sort of hoping he's going to, John's going to, grab hold of it. But the thing is, though, it's 19 seconds, I counted it, between him hitting the shot and then disappearing out of view. And we don't see from the clip how the rescue was made or how long it took. Although he did complete the round and he did finish the tournament in tied 29th. So fair play to Big John.
He said on today's episode of Jackass is what he put out as a caption, knowing he'd gone viral. So he's got a sense of humour about it, which is great, isn't it, really?
Well, he's had a lot of operations as well. He's had 16 operations, apparently, in the last 4 years on tendons in his hands. So I don't know whether playing that shot from the waist area set something off. But
he's clutching all those cans over the years, isn't it? That's what's happened to the tendons in his hands.
He went down at a fair lick. I mean, he really did go down there. It was like a sort of bobsleigh down that slope.
Yeah. And the guys on the Summer, they wrote about it, called him the Happy Gilmore 2 star. I thought, hang on. He's had a bit of a golf career as well. I think he's known for more than that. Yeah. Dan, you have a golf podcast. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, so I've started a podcast called This Golfing Life with my friends at Sounder Golf, and it really is about sort of golf life and the connection between the two. And our guests range from household names to people who are barely known outside their household. But everybody loves the game and everybody has a great story to tell. So the first episode is out now with Simon Farnaby, who people will know from, Detectorists and Horrible Histories and Ghosts. And Simon also wrote the Paddington films and the Wonka films as well. So, and he's a comedian. He was on the Mighty Boosh and all that sort of stuff. So Simon is an old friend of mine. So I'm not ashamed to say that a lot of the people coming on are mates, but then a lot of them are people I've just met through playing golf and being in and around golf for more time than I care to remember. And it's just sort of conversations, really. And it's the first one's doing really well. As I said, This Golfing Life, it's on all the places you get your podcasts. It's also on YouTube as well, on the Sounder Golf website, on the Sounder Golf channel, rather.
And since we work together, you've obviously come up in the world because you now have your own golf tournament in your back garden, Dan. So,
well, it's not technically my back garden. I just have a point of order there. It's a rented house. So we moved out. Yeah, we used to work together at Goal and 90 Minutes IPC in the 90s, the halcyon days of football magazines.
Indeed.
It was great fun. And anyway, 2021, we moved out of London, went down to Devon. I think like a lot of people after the pandemic, just wanted a bit of a change, had 3 young kids. And my wife found this farmhouse that she fell in love with, and I wasn't sure about because it didn't have central heating for a start, and there were quite a few other things that weren't exactly to my liking. But anyway, she knew what she had as a trump card, and she led me out to the sort of lovely garden around the farmhouse, and then she led me to this gate of this orchard, which was chest high with grass, but it had all these sort of lovely slopes, and it had a stream, and it had trees, and it was about an acre. And she just said, "And this is your golf course." Wow. And that was it. I signed on the dotted line, and I've spent the last 5. This will be the 5th year of the RNGC Invitational, Royal Norton Golf Club. It's 9 holes. The longest hole is about 75 yards. Yard for yard, it is the hardest golf course in the world, bar none. It's fancy dress. It takes place every year in the second weekend in June. And you can find out more about Royal Norton Golf Club, or RNGC as it's known, at RNGC 2021 on Instagram.
Well, we'll have to have a chat with you after, Dan, because it'll be great,
like a lot
great,
of fun.
great to see the pictures and the competitors in the fancy dress. So maybe we'll get a report after the event.
This year's theme is Hollywood. Last year we've had in the past world leaders. That was a great final. It was Anthony and Cleopatra against Jesus and Pope Francis in the final. It was a keenly contested contest, as you might imagine.
That sounds great. It's brilliant. Anyway, good to talk to you, Dan. Thanks very much.
Nice to see you, Paul. It's nice to see you, Andy.
Thanks.
Cheers,
Good stuff.
Golf podcaster and writer Dan Davis. And Dan produced a show on talkSPORT many years ago, working with Ray Houghton, wasn't he? We had a golf show.
Yeah,
it must be about 10 years or so ago.
That's
now.
right,
So
yeah.
Dan was producing that. So anyway, we're not far from the Masters now. Rupert was getting us in the mood when we're at Cheltenham, wasn't he? So won't be long now. We'll be right across that for you.
Where's it being held this year?
Well, yeah. I mean, it had been a long night at that stage. Rupert and his magic bottle of red wine. Rob Earnshaw joins us, the former Wales striker. They got a huge playoff this week. We'll build up to those throughout the week, of course. But there is a strange story, a little weird sidebar to this game, courtesy of the Bosnia-Herzegovina manager. And we'll be chatting to Rob about that and the game itself in a few moments' time. We're here at Toolstation. You can check out their wide range of garden power tools with brands such as Bosch and Ryobi. Next stop, Toolstation.
One of the big talking points was, have you heard about the result from the Northeast? Sunderland go to St James's Park and won, and they did. Sunderland completed the domestic double over their rivals thanks to a late 2-1 win at Newcastle, and it sees Sunderland leapfrog Newcastle in the league, 1 point clear in 11th. It's hard to imagine it, Martin, but in their debut Premier League return, are they now firmly out of Newcastle's shadow?
Well, I mean, okay, Eddie was saying about all the number of games that they've had to play and the calibre of player they're up against. The squad maybe is not equipped well enough, perhaps, to with all the resources they've got financially. They haven't been able to capitalise on that, have they, because of the financial fair play? So, but in the meantime, Sunderland have caught up with them. I mean, Jacques is a really important player, by the way. When he was out for a while, Sunderland suddenly started looking like a championship team.
Yeah.
But now that he's back in the team, Brobby up top. Too much to handle. Couldn't deal with him, Jim. And it's all these games, successive games. But it was a big game in the minds of these Newcastle players. They put it there as a one that they could go and win it. And it's tricky now for Eddie between now and the end of the season, Jim, to try and fix this problem.
Well, it is. Simon, a difficult week for him.
Yeah.
7-2 capitulation in Barcelona.
Yeah.
Then they lose at home to their closest of rivals. What is the more chastening result for Eddie?
I think probably the Sunderland result, because it follows on the back of a necessity to bounce back. You've got to live in this city, and the rivalry between these two football clubs is significant. You've already been beaten by them once. The last thing you want to be doing is following up a bad result against Barcelona, where you've had your backsides handed to you in the second half.
The H&J Daily, some of the best bits of this afternoon's show, if you've missed any of today's show, is available in about 15, 20 minutes' time. And it will feature the man who's in charge of the World Stone Skimming Championships. His official name is the Tossmaster. I know. Grow up. But stone skimming, this was a nice one. This is from Spaldune in South Wales. He said, my brother-in-law was skimming stones with his kids when his wife rang him to see when he'd be home, about 20 years ago, before the proper smartphones, one of the old clam phones. When he'd finished the call, just completely lost his head and proceeded to skim the stone into the sea because it was like the same sort of size of the stones he was throwing. So there we are. Thank you, Andrew, for that. Anything else, Andy? I want to wait. Ernie, we're just trying to get.
Oh, give me a number then. Go on.
I'll give you a line. Oh yeah, sorry, we have Andy's nonsense by numbers. I have to give him a number, and he has a story that he's got from his cuttings.
There we go.
Let's say 40 blind 40, Andy. Number 40. What have you got? What have you got for your stories today?
It's all very random. Here it comes. Number 40. No,
you're not reading that. Good. Okay, we'll leave that. What about? So I haven't got to go far. What about number 39? Is that any better?
Yes, it could be.
Okay.
Tying your hair up into a bun like David Beckham can make you go bald.
He hasn't done that for years. Oh, he's doing it again, is he?
I don't know.
Okay,
not necessarily. I think.
Have you tried doing that, Andy? You'd have a job, wouldn't you?
Oh, we'd have a job, really.
Yeah.
Top stylist Rachel Valentine claims sporting the trendy do leads to traction alopecia. Never heard of
I
it.
had £5 each way on that at Cheltenham.
I did too. Football icon David famously wore a man bun in the noughties. Well, yeah, but that's not now, is it? What's the point of saying that now? Another Barnet boffin.
Yeah.
Hair educator Abby Young also warns that tightly scraping back tresses into a ponytail can have the same effect.
Right, well.
Tremendous story.
That's not something that I've ever particularly been worried about.
No, me neither.
Gus Poyet was on with Jim and Simon earlier on, and
Yes, we both want him.
Oh, no, funny, I've been listening to the comments, and I was listening to some of the interviews I was walking in, and look, I think maybe he's put himself in the running, Gus.
Yeah.
We know he wants to manage in this country again, so we'll see. I'm sure the full interview is available in the Boys podcast, and you'll hear some excerpts of it. He had some interesting stuff to say. Anyway, let's move on to Wales, Bosnia-Herzegovina this week. A huge game for Wales in that playoff semi-final. But the backdrop to it is this strange story in which the Bosnia-Herzegovina coach, has been accusing Steve Cooper, the Bromby manager, of leaving one of his players out to help Wales.
It's a bit of a stretch. I don't think Steve would sacrifice his own career, would he?
Sergei Barbarez, his name was, the manager, said, he's been leaving him out so he's undercooked for the match. Steve's now got an apology because it's obviously nonsense. Rob Earnshaw joins us, former Wales striker. Hi, Rob.
Good afternoon.
It adds a bit of spice to it. These sort of silly stories like this, doesn't it? Not that it needs it, but what a strange thing to say.
I mean, I had to laugh at this one when I first heard it. Especially, I know Steve Cooper, and just to think that this is even an option, just to think about this is kind of crazy in itself. I mean. First of all, Steve Cooper is a very, very good guy, genuine guy. I mean, he does something. He loves to coach. He loves football. He loves to do his job. And something like that would be the last thing he would ever do. I mean, and of course, he's got an apology for it, just for the accusation. But I just found it quite crazy that it even came up to the point that it goes that far to actually come out and accuse him of that.
Why would you say that publicly? It's nuts, isn't it? Obviously, he's getting hyped.
The player must have said something to the coach, surely.
Well, I mean, maybe the player's a bit put out because he's not playing, and so he's just sort of hit out. But anyway, it's they've dealt with it, which is good. Are you getting a bit nervous, Rob, as we get closer to the game?
Do you know what? Not nervous. I'm actually excited. Excited just because I feel like we are in a position that I'm actually quietly confident in where we are right now. The reason is we got Craig Bellamy in charge. And also, secondly, I feel like we're really starting to gel together as a team. People, have not seen Wales for a few years, but of course, we had Gareth Bale, world class, the Aaron Ramseys, great players. But it feels like what Craig Bellamy's starting to put together is a real tactical team and also people that can make an impact. Now, what I love about that is we've got, now, 5 to 7 players that can score goals, not just one world-class player. I think Craig Bellamy prepares his team like I've never seen before. As good as any coach out there. So that's why I'm quietly confident, and that's why I'm excited. I mean, it's a big week because you got 2 games to reach the World Cup.
Yeah.
And you will take that any day. And that's why I think it's just going to be such an amazing night on Thursday night, first of all, but we want those 2 games.
Yeah, they've got some good players, Wilson. I mean, Harry Wilson's had a wonderful season, hasn't he? And obviously, you'll be hoping he reproduces that on Thursday.
And shame there's no Ben Davis, who would have been kind of a sort of steady hand.
Ampadu's had a good season too.
So, the signs are good, Rob, aren't they?
Yeah, because, a few years ago, you had the likes of, a younger Harry Wilson, Ampadu, Rodon, even Dan James and David Brooks at Bournemouth as well. And Brennan Johnson as well. So what you're seeing is, these players having 3 and 4 years further down the line in their experience. But also at the same time, the likes of Harry Wilson is now stepped in to be that talisman or be that leader and also just creatively playing the best football of his life. I mean, look at him in the Premier League this year. He's so decisive. And then once you're on top of that, you've also got a great coach that allows them to be even better. And every player that I speak to there is saying how much better they are playing under Craig Bellamy. So it just shows you where we are right now. So I think it's such a huge game.
Yeah, and with that,
you play Bosnia, you win that one, then you play, of course, Northern Ireland or Italy as well.
Yeah,
but what a position to be in.
Fantastic. It'll be very exciting.
Should be. Rob, thanks. We'll catch up with you soon. All the best.
Pleasure, guys.
And Italy, Northern Ireland's also on Thursday, as is Czech Republic versus Republic of Ireland.
These are games with proper jeopardy. That's
not much. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So these games should be great, and then the final qualifier next week in all those matches. We're right across those, of course, and we'll be keeping you updated and building up to those games over the next couple of days. Thanks for your company this afternoon. And coming up next here on talkSPORT is Andy Goldstein and Darren Bentwood Drive. Have a good evening.
It's the world's most vocal Arsenal fan, Piers Morgan. Good morning, Piers. Or is it a good morning, my friend?
Good morning, Piers.
Can I just say that when